It's Monday. Do you know where your coffee is? It's time for some Midnight's Edge in the morning. Sorry for being so late, kids. Welcome to the show, guys. I am Tom Connors. With me today is the Script Doctor. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon to those on the East Coast.
How is it up in Canada today? Nice and cool, or hot and
Warm,
sticky?
warm but rainy. Warm but rainy right now, yeah.
We had a lot of hot and sticky last week, but now it's spring again, so I'm happy to say that it's 71 degrees.
Wow.
We got Paulie, who's out there in lovely, lovely California, but he had to step out and let the puppies out for a minute, so he'll be right back. But Paulie, of course, you know from the Latino Slant and Midnight's Edge Espanol, if I could speak this morning. And we also should have Mike, the Mexican Iron Man, by sooner than later, and also Andre should be joining us, hopefully sooner than later as well. But good morning, everybody out there in YouTube's land. We're glad to have you here. I see a lot of the regulars coming in already. Thank you for being here. Please hit that like button, hit that share button, show us some love. Well, and if you hate us, I mean, I guess you can bring our enemies here too. I mean, I've been called a racist all weekend online. Well, not really, but like 2 or 3 people have really tried to over my stupid America Chavez meme that I didn't even make and I didn't even present the idea of. But I'm the racist, right? Not Disney. No. They're not the ones for making what they touted as the first LGBTQ Latinx superhero and have her power be crossing borders. That I didn't do that. Okay, so I'm just saying. Anyhow, on that note, we got some Doctor Strange news today. And you saw that, and we all did. And Sean, it's okay. Everybody hates me. He says, not really. Yeah, and you're right. The term racist really has lost all meaning. Yeah.
Oversaturation, man. It's
exactly.
It's like Will Ferrell movies at that one point in the early 2000s. There's too many of them.
You know what the sad part about Will is? When he's playing in supporting roles and those little bit parts, he's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
But when he has to take over the entire show, it's really hit and miss. I mean, mostly miss. I'm hard pressed to think of a movie where he's the main star that I enjoy and can watch quite often. Step Brothers, he's a team.
Anchorman,
he's still kind of a team.
He's still a team, yeah.
Yeah, and those are my 2 favorites of his. Outside of that, I love him as Sheriff Will and Holly on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And
he's great in Old School.
In Old School, he's fucking brilliant. Yeah, we're going streaking through the gymnasium.
He was the funniest part of Wedding Crashers.
Yes, this is true. And I'm trying to think of the other one I really like. Oh, he's great in Drowning Mona, of course, too. But yeah, see, I love him in those little bit parts. So, and see, Glade thinks he's a better voice actor. Glade Ribbon
pretty good in Elf.
Yeah,
that's a different type of comedy. That's more of a Favreau comedy than a Ferrell.
And you know what my problem with Elf is? I get why people love it. Don't get me wrong. But the best jokes are in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Once you get past that opening bit, don't get me wrong, there's some good bits in there, but when you pack that first few minutes with so much good shit, those Keebler elves running from the burning tree was the one that lost me. At that point, you can't beat that joke. That is the best joke in the movie. So, but no, I understand why it's a Christmas classic and people enjoy it. But speaking of classics, we got some classic super chats here from Daniel, who I believe sent us before we even started the show, who says, I figured it out. The title is actually about Wanda. So it's not a bait and switch between the show and movie. Wanda got online magical degrees and assumed the mantle of Doctor Strange. Well, it'd be Dr. Stronda. Because for those who don't know what Daniel's probably talking about here, I believe he's referring to Andre's little Freudian slip in the title this morning. He called it Dr. Stronda. So I think he was it's Dr. Wanda now. So yeah, they had a little merging. Maybe it's their shipping name. Would that be a good shipping name for him? Dr. Stronda. We got Horseradish Power, who says Doctor Strange in the film production of Madness. Yes, I sent this to Andre Horseradish, and I said, this is the title of your next video. Because he is going to do a follow-up to the reshoots. So,
well, it's work for hire, pretty much. I mean,
yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about that this morning, because that's kind of the big news, is how big of a drop Doctor Strange took over the weekend, which partially not surprised because that's kind of typical of Marvel movies. They generally do take a 70% drop. But this was a kind of a, dare we say, strange drop? No, not really, but I needed to use the term because it's part of the title. But it was a little bit harsher than most, and considering coming off of the heels of Spider-Man and stuff like that, I'm sure it's a bit disappointing.
Well, what was the competition for its weekend?
That's the thing. It hasn't had any real competition.
Mm.
That's the other thing. Like, the only other things that came out was that remake of Firestarter, which didn't even barely make $2 million. So, like, nothing that of any real competition out there at all. So, but we're going to talk about the box office and a few other things. Waltman's here and says, it's sad when memos from Netflix and PlayStation to come out when the stocks are down. I think you're referring to the we're not going to get into this woke stuff. So
I don't even know what he's talking about there.
I don't know about the PlayStation one. I haven't seen that one, but the Netflix one was basically, if you don't like our content, get the fuck out. Like,
oh, that was from like last week.
Yeah, I think that's what he's referring to. And I'm assuming that maybe PlayStation did the same thing, because I guess there was a couple other
well, Netflix makes very little in comparison to what it buys independently and releases. So, yeah.
I think they just mean in general, especially after all this, stuff with Dave Chappelle and all that. And, they're losing a lot of subscribers. And I think a lot of these companies are learning that they can't continue the road they're on and still be profitable and successful. Horseradish Power says, will Strange 2 even make BVS money? It's going to be a tough order. It has already outgrossed the original Doctor Strange film, but that's kind of I don't know if you can really compare the two, because this is more of an Avengers level type of thing when you got this many characters in it. But yeah, I don't know.
3.
Well, it's still more than just Doctor Strange. Right?
I mean, it's worldwide. It's already 688, so it's already done better than Man of Steel.
Yeah, as I said, it's already beat the original Doctor Strange by like $18 million. So I mean, it's done well enough, but it's not gonna. It's never gonna hit that billion. And it's on Disney Plus in like what, 3 weeks?
3.5, 4 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Because it opened last weekend, not this weekend. This is its second weekend. So
this is its second weekend. Yeah, it's so it's at 688. It'll probably make a little bit more. I think it would be make another 100 million ish. So it probably will beat the Batman. Actually.
Yeah, it'll barely just beat the Batman, maybe.
Yeah.
Or it'll fall right in that area, which
is not good, because one of the things people are starting to wake up to, which is what I mentioned way back in the Rise of Skywalker days, is rewatchability. The box office is what you get your opening weekend is basically your principal audience, and especially for a big tentpole film, and you only sustain that if they want to watch it again. And if they don't come back the next weekend to watch it again, you don't really have a great hit on there. You got your bulk of the money, which is fantastic, 100%. But ideally, you want to do it again. And if you want to really think about it with the numbers, you take a look at the Rise of Skywalker versus the Force Awakens. You can pretty much average out that your diehard fans saw the Force Awakens almost a dozen times during its theatrical run.
Yeah. Kind of the same thing with Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, I know guys who went and seen it like 6-7 times, and I'm not even exaggerating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the kind of thing I don't think they're going to have here either. And the Batman didn't really have that. So, this movie does not have the rewatchability of a lot of other Marvel films. And Andre's on his way. He hopefully should be here soon. He's dealing with a few things, but he should be back. Nick says he can't wait for Maverick. That's probably the first thing that Strange is going to have as far as any real competition. I believe that opens this week, right?
I hope so. I want to see it.
I think so. Here's the thing: is I think a lot of people are saying they want to see it. I think a lot of people are thinking it's going to be a big hit. But I'm telling everybody, like, don't expect it to do much better than Ghostbusters Afterlife. I mean,
that seems fair. That's a good aggregate, yeah.
Yeah, because I'd be surprised. I would love for it to surprise me, because I'm hearing great things about the movie. I mean, I'm not a Top Gun fan, so I have zero horses in this race. But I'm like, if it does better than $400 million, that's a good thing. But if it settles somewhere in that $300 million range, I'm not going to be surprised, because that's roughly about how Afterlife did.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and I see where you kind of agree with me on that, because we don't really have anything to really gauge this by. I mean, we haven't had 3 other Top Gun movies since the first one to kind of, go, oh yeah, this is going to do this or this is going to do that. So
there's such a huge distance between the theatrical releases and time of it. Like Top Gun was a big movie in 87 or no, earlier than that, 80.
I think it was the biggest film of 86.
86, something
If
like
it
that.
wasn't that,
Yeah.
it was that or Beverly Hills Cop 2 was something like that.
But it was a huge hit. It became a classic among friends, even to the point where the Navy and Air Force would find trainee officers that would quote the film because it was so well revered. And so I can't wait to check out to see what they're doing. However, it does have a pretty sizable budget because they did use real aircraft, so it does have a threshold to break in order to be profitable. But at this point, I think Paramount's just praying for something that's critically positive as opposed to what they've been doling out so far. Like they're okay with Sonic right now. Like they're in good company there. But a lot of the other stuff they've been putting out has not been hitting the trades and the world by storm as they'd hoped.
Yeah. We got some member chats here from Olaf Van S, who's been a member for 11 months, one more month away to your 1-year birthday, but it is your actual birthday. So happy birthday to you, Olaf. A nice birthday stream I can enjoy with my friends and content creators of this awesome fellowship. I am in great company. And so are we having you here, Olaf. And thank you for that. We appreciate the support. And happy birthday once again. Did you want to say happy birthday, Script?
Happy birthday, Olaf.
Yeah. Is Paulie back yet? No. Okay. That 70s rock fan. How you doing, buddy? Who's been a member for 14 months at the Edgelord level, says, demand you talk about Dr. Stronda. I don't care about that Doctor Strange guy. Well, that's the next move, right? I mean, they need to merge. They're going to converge. Isn't that the word they used in the movie? The convergence?
Something of that.
Yeah, because that was part of the reason why Wanda needed her power, was not only to go there, but she needed to be able to converge both worlds so she could exist there. That was part of the deal. That was my recollection anyway. I don't know. I'm a racist, remember, because I pointed out the obvious. Just David says, quick quirks created crass creations, ceasing creative cream. Quite crazed and crappy. Authentic aim aids, alluring art that amazes all. Ooh, very good. What kind of poetry is that? That's the
it's alliterative.
Yeah, thank you. You should know.
I actually don't study poetry.
But
I like it in music. I don't like it just a creepy, lonesome person sitting on stage whispering into a microphone.
No, but of all of us here, you'd probably know before me. So.
Oh, okay.
Dash Attack says Sonic 2 is ultra rewatchable. Strange isn't. That middle act is boring. I haven't seen Sonic 2 yet. Heard wonderful things about it. Andre loved it. Yeah, I mean, it did a pretty good job for Paramount. I think it outgrossed the original by what? 50, 60, 70 million, maybe more. I don't know where it's at right now, but Paramount's not pushing it out on video or anything like that, or claiming it's going to be on Paramount Plus anytime real soon. I mean, I know it should be sooner than later, but they're doing it right. They're leaving it in theaters. They're letting it have its moment in the sun. I don't know if you've got a chance to see it yet, Script, but
I have seen it. It is on digital in some place markets that.
It might be on digital here then.
But it's I don't think it's advertised on Paramount Plus side of things 100% yet. Because I managed to see it through. I use a VPN for an international service.
Right I can't buy it yet here
if I can't get it into a theater. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not available for rent or buy in digital yet in the US anyway. So keep that in mind. But yeah, a lot of people enjoyed Sonic. So I'm glad to have some things like that we can enjoy, at least considering. Michael Leparco, if I'm saying that right, thank you so much. Says Black Adam will be the box office king this year. Just a hunch, especially if Cavill is in it, which he isn't. Sorry. Which is rumored. Unless there's some last minute changes. Last I knew, he is not going to be in it. But there's always possibilities, as Spock would say.
It would be the first Dwayne Johnson film that makes a huge, where he's like the sole supporting character where that makes a
Yeah.
huge box office return. Because you take a look at some of the other stuff he's done. You're right,
I believe
Tom. Like
Skyscraper is his biggest hit.
I think, yeah,
on his own.
Skyscraper. They did Rampage, which didn't do much. San Andreas didn't do much.
He does okay. He makes the money back. I mean, I'm not saying he's like
just
bomb
I don't
or
think he'll
anything
be
like
a
that,
king. Yeah,
there's this aura around him like Rock equals box office business. That's not necessarily the case. If you have a movie like Fast and the Furious and to bring The Rock in, oh yeah, that means your odds of that.
he's like the
whatever.
Moneyball.
Yeah.
The Rock always gets on base. Does he always
That's
make
a great way
play?
of putting that. And I think
he always gets on base,
I
which
think
means
Paulie would appreciate that too, because he likes Moneyball.
And Mexican Iron
Man
would appreciate even more because Mexican Iron Man is a true Oakland A's fan.
And that's true because you're a numbers guy.
Yep.
So that's the true. And welcome, Mike. So glad to have you here.
Why, thank you.
You made it back before Paulie did, and he's still sitting on screen.
Well, sorry I'm late, guys. I planned to be on time, but came back from Utah only to find the air conditioning in my house is blown out.
Oops. What happened?
Oof.
The unit's just old. It's built according to the tech that just left. It was built in 1998, installed in 98, and it was its time.
Well, that's not so bad.
Wow.
That's not as bad as the guy who came in and ruined my furnace. Do you remember that story?
Yeah,
Oh,
and that was in winter. But I'll tell you this much: Mexican Iron Man is Mexican, and although I like hot things, like hot chicks, Mexican Iron Man does not like to be in very warm, excessive environments. Nope. It's not good for the lightsaber, if you know what I mean. Script got the joke. Get it, Tom? It's not good for my lightsaber. My personal light. Okay, you know what, Tom? That was funny. Thank you, Script.
I got it, and I was laughing, but it was on the inside.
Yeah,
I had my mic muted.
No.
Actually, I got alerted by Six to a super chat we had before the show that I couldn't get. Hypergiver 2 sent us $2 and said, Marvel is losing the rights to Conan again. Yes, this is true. And this might be something we talk about today, but I'm going to wait for Andre to get here because he may or may not have some more info about this, let's say. So we'll definitely get into that in a little bit here. So thank you for that. And I hope the movie's good, Michael. I really do. I mean, I don't see why anybody has a reason to judge it until it comes out. We haven't seen a trailer. We've only seen like a couple of stills. So yeah, I'm willing to give it the benefit
Stills
of the
look
doubt.
good. I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, I hope it's a good film. I mean,
until I see a crappy trailer.
Is Levy in Black Adam as well, or is it this a Black Adam origin thing? I don't know the context of it.
It's just a Black Adam origin thing. I'm not even sure if they have anybody from Shazam in it that I know of. Well, of course we won't know probably till it comes out, but last I knew there is no Henry Cavill in it. So here's the thing with Cavill is he doesn't have a contract right now.
That is
last
true.
I knew. And that's kind of where the whole thing went down when he was showing like the Superman figure online and stuff. That was where I think they were in the middle of negotiations and they broke down. And he basically is just kind of like waiting around for them to decide what they want to do. And, that stand-in Shazam was kind of a fuck you to him. And then they went out and they trashed him in the press big time. They called him difficult and all kinds of other shit. Yeah.
Well, we're finding out why he was difficult is the fact that he had issues about what his character as Superman was doing in the movies, but he was trying to be a professional actor. And, like what Mark Hamill said, I'm here for a job. I got to do this job, even if I don't agree with the direction of the character.
Yeah. Well, just the things that I've heard about him in general, I just don't buy it. I don't. I really don't. I see them as just trying to paint him that way so they can try and coerce him into signing on with them at that time. But I don't know. I could be wrong, but at the same time,
I think they're looking at him as being disposable. That as a result of.
That's what I mean.
When you're looking at a movie like Superman, which for every actor that has played the character of Superman, their career is elevated and elevated the brand. So you go to like Christopher Reeve, even Dean Cain was escalated to films and stuff because of his Lois and Clark's things. And then you got Henry Cavill, where the reception of the film was not ideal, and he wasn't getting a whole bunch of huge offers. It wasn't until several years after that he ended up becoming the bad guy in Mission Impossible, and that movie was better well received for his acting and performance than any of the stuff with Superman. And I think Warner Brothers was like, what the heck's going on? why is this movie not big? They're, instead of looking at the actual issues with the story, script, and production, they're looking, well, I guess we just didn't get the right actor for it. And I'm like, no, I think you got the right actor, but you probably just didn't utilize him in the best way you possibly could with the story that just would not, it was not super-ish. It just wasn't. And I think they're resentful. They're trying to, because that's one of the things that Hollywood likes to do is if they can find a scapegoat for their own problems, they will point to someone else if they can and come up with any type of logical or illogical rationale to justify it. Christian Garcia. Yeah, Brandon Routh. God, yeah, he peaked and then dropped immediately because, again, Superman Returns was not a well-received film.
I feel like he got the shaft on that because that movie was setting up a bunch of stuff we didn't get to see.
Which it shouldn't have. It should have been.
It shouldn't have. You're right. No, yeah.
Because, I mean, I think the special effects, that the whole Superman saving Metropolis after the earthquake thing was the most Superman we got in that film. And we didn't get enough of that. And what we ended up getting is a lot of, unfortunately, recycled and derivative.
That's the problem I have with that movie is like there's so much that's great in it. It's like, yes, this is where you should go with this. But then at the same time, there's just a lot of weirdness in it at the same time. And I understand why people don't like the film, right?
Yeah, but there's some magical moments. Like
there is.
On that airplane as it's falling, and then all of a sudden you just see that red and blue blur fly by the window. You're like, boom, that conveys a whole lot of information to the audience. It gets your goosebumps going. But then the tail end of him saving that plane was pretty much like cartoon action spectacle as opposed to what's the smart way to try and fix this situation. And then the lifting of the Kryptonite Island was a bit
that's where the movie
it was just focused on
rails.
some of the wrong aspects of it, trying to recapture the Donnerisms, but not understanding why those were there in the first place.
Great point. Yeah. I mean, and Singer isn't exactly a J.J. Abrams, but he's not nearly as good as Donner. So yeah, that's where the problem lied.
But he tried, like he swung for the fences on that.
Oh,
I just think that he came at it from the wrong mindset. It's like I want to do a superfluous sequel to Superman 2, but at the same time he's
set up a bunch of other sequels and stuff like that.
Spending too much time on the other stuff as opposed to figuring out how do I bring an actual Superman Returns story to life.
No, I think you're right. I think he should have disassociated with Donner a little bit more. Like, I mean, I loved the Donnerisms, don't get me wrong, but I think
gave Routh a more masculine looking Superman costume because the tight neck collar is not as masculine as you think it is with the way that how they made the trunks super small and the chest emblem is too small. Everything else is too small on him. It doesn't showcase the fact that Brandon Routh is this really wide-shouldered, strong guy. They did everything they could to try and slim him down to look kind of a little bit more like the silhouette of what Bryan Singer wanted his body to be. So.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is I feel like that if they would have went a little bit more, and I hate saying because I love the Donner version, but I think if they would have went a little bit more in their own direction and just kind of borrowed some of the isms instead of trying to make it a direct sequel to Superman 2, it would have worked better. I think it could have actually gotten us to a place where we're okay with this idea of us James Bonding some of these superheroes, right? Like it's okay to just kind of
recast,
to an extent.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and just how James Bond though, they're not always a direct sequel-ish. I mean, they kind of carry some of the same characters and same ideas, but it's not like everything is directly in line with the last one. You can kind of just watch a Bond movie without seeing the last few and still feel like you're getting an experience.
How do we handle?
Where I think we're in the wrong place with some of these things.
I think we're in the wrong place because the Superman story that we should get, that we need to get, the way Script Doc has articulated many times. One of the things I love most about your script is the way you're able to articulate what a superhero should be and how it should be shown, whether that's Superman or Batman. Here's the thing with Superman. I don't know if I want Hollywood to take a swing at a Superman movie with Cavill or anyone else right now, because I don't know if I believe that anyone in Hollywood is capable of letting a Superman movie be the way a Superman movie really needs to be, at least for the times that we're in.
You're not wrong, Mike.
Because the times that we're in now, more than ever, we need a Superman that is a classic, well-articulated Superman, the way Tom, you and Youth Script are talking about. But I don't trust Hollywood to give us that.
Well, Superman's the most simple of the superheroes in a sense, and I don't mean that like simple, like in whatever. What I'm saying is he's pretty basic, right? He's got pretty straightforward ideas. He does what he does because he can and he chooses to, and to be a hero. He knows he's the best of us, right? He's called Superman for a reason. He's what we should all aspire to be. And that's kind of the whole point of the Donner film and some of the other ideas that I think Snyder lost, right? And that's the one thing all of us agree usually that Henry Cavill's a great Superman, right? He looks the part, he sounds the part, he has the right demeanor, the right tone. It was just the movies around him that
Snyder's
didn't
biggest
support
and
him.
as the
So
only.
can I?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
go.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Paul.
Paulie.
I didn't know
Love
you
to
were
hear
back.
what you're
Sorry.
saying.
So yeah, I would have to disagree with Mike only in that I really feel that the Superman and Lois iteration is amazing. I would love to see some sort of HBO Max level, get away from the was it CW that they're on? Because me and Script Doctor did some analysis like of the episodes last year. We had a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
think second to Donner's and Christopher Reeves, that's the best we've ever gotten, and that's right now. That's a fantastic Superman.
Well, Superman.
It's a pretty solid Superman. I have a soft spot for the first season of Lois and Clark Superman because it pretty much understands the perspective a lot better than other Superman iterations. Dean Cain was a new actor at that time, so he doesn't really knock it out the same way.
No, I agree with you, though,
The guy who's
Script.
doing Superman now and Superman Lois does, but like the Superman Lois show does have a couple of problems. Not so much with the cast at all. The cast is actually quite phenomenal, and their approach is pretty good. But they're putting their main lead in this bulky, inflated Superman suit that does not hang off his body properly. His shoulders are way too dropped down for where his positions are. Like the actor is really well ripped, but he's slim, and they shouldn't throw him in a suit that tries to bulk him up bigger than he actually is. And the other part that's the flaw is he's too doubtful in his actions.
A little bit, but it's modern creeping in a little bit. You're right,
Yeah.
but let's make Mike and the Snyderverse people happy. Put Henry in that role.
Oh yeah,
with that Superman Lois world as a movie, not Snyder. I think that would be fantastic.
I think that'd make more waves. Absolutely, I think you're right there.
Because I don't mean to like disagree with you, Mike. I'm just saying like it can be done, and I think now we're coming around the corner of the Wocosidades. Like even that whole thing of having young little woke sons in the family or in that world, which is there in the TV show. As a movie, it could work. You just got to keep Superman on the straight and narrow, like who he is.
Well, he's a value-driven character, and that's an aspirational. And again, the deconstructive and the laziest approach would be, oh, Superman is just as human as any of us. It's like, well, no, his heart's very human. But the thing is that he's driven so much because of what he can do that he will make every effort he can, even sacrifice himself to ensure that there's safety and a little bit more extra security in that moment around him. And that's what makes him Superman.
He is a god. He's a god who protects his people.
He's a god that doesn't want the responsibility of ruling. That's the other part.
No,
he'd rather contribute.
But he's empathetic.
Can I point something out here? And I wonder if Script will agree with me on this too, because this is where I think Snyder really misunderstands Superman. People keep trying to make him a god or a Jesus-like figure when he's not. He's a Moses figure. He's a messenger.
Moses,
yeah, specifically Moses. I
didn't use my word right, but he's definitely not a human.
I just want to kind of, because people kind of treat him like he's a god all the time. No, Thor is a god, right?
Yeah.
Like that. There's a little bit difference there.
Yeah, you're right.
Making a claim that Superman is Jesus is an insult to Jesus and an insult to Superman.
Yes, but I love Jesus' work. So
yeah, I mean, you can.
But is he a man?
Is Jesus a man?
No. Superman.
That's the ethereal question.
Well, he's mortal. He's for sure mortal. That's the thing. Like he does die.
Okay.
If not like being killed by someone, he will die of old age. That is for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, the other part too. Superman as a character in his origin, he was not sent to Earth to be a hero. He was sent to Earth because as a baby, it was the only place where he could survive and not be killed by the elements of that planet. Yeah. As he grew up, he decided, hey, this place is essentially an elaborate lifeboat for him, but he has so much attachment to it that he feels like, well, I don't need to survive anymore. I can do that on my own. but I see all these other people struggling in situations that are beyond themselves to ever deal with. I can at least help. And that's kind of like a retribution and an inadvertent thank you for being there. Because one of my biggest gripes with the Reeves Superman, which I absolutely love, it's a great line, but it's completely deflates the intention of what Jor-El was doing, where Jor-El says they can be great people they wish them to be. They only lack the light to show them the way. This, above all, is the reason I sent you, my only son. I'm like, no, that's not why he sent him. You're stuck in a position where I have a baby, I can send them anywhere in the galaxy. Where can I put that kid where if it meets nobody, it interacts with nobody, it will still survive and thrive? That's basically what he did. Earth happened to be that planet. And if he sent him anywhere else, Kal-El would have not made it. Like the natural elements would have probably killed him if it wasn't on a Earth Sun type of thing, a white dwarf star like ours. So yeah, that's the perception. The fact that Superman has to choose to become a hero. He can't be told by a higher power that he has to be a hero, because therefore he's not doing it for himself. He's doing it for that voice, that higher power. And that's not a hero. That's essentially a servant. And Superman is not a servant.
And I'm trying to remember. I think Jor-El does say if you choose to a lot of those times when he's saying these things.
In
So,
some of
like,
the other scenes he does, like when he reveals himself and he tells his dad and he's like, you can't serve humanity 28 hours a day, that type of speech there, he's like,
yeah, and we
still-
also have to remember that a lot of that is pre-programmed stuff, that it's not really his father so much speaking to him as it is going off of what Superman is presenting to it. It's basically like an AI system.
It is,
Huh.
yeah. It's like a clone of his brain patterns or something.
Basically, yeah. So we got to also take that into consideration. But no, I think Donner got it the best. It was the whole idea of like, yeah, if you choose to be this thing, you could lead them and you could be very inspirational and show them, the better part of themselves, kind of thing. But we've gone way too long on talking Superman, and I love talking Superman. I'll talk Superman all day long. We got some Doctor Strange business to talk about, and Dearest brings that up here. Says, question on Strange: if Wanda is using deep dreams to possess other Wandas, she has to be asleep in her world. Why did not Strange immediately go back to kill her when learning about dreaming? I thought of this too watching the movie. I'm trying to remember exactly how, but they kind of set it up to where they pretty much don't know where she is until damn near the end of the movie. After that first kind of run in with her, she's the one who finds him at the Illuminati and stuff like that. So I don't think they knew where she was. But otherwise, yeah, again, another thing that would have quickly ended
they're
the
also
film.
thrown into another universe where Wanda wasn't present as well.
Yeah, so there's that too. So there's like all kinds of reasons around it. But like, the movie still is flawed in a sense that there's a lot of things that Strange could have done up front to try and like that. I wish they would have shown us to where we're like, okay, so I understand they at least tried it. Like,
what the real problem is, if they're going to have a Universe of Madness, how come Mexican Iron Man didn't get written into the movie and he didn't go bang Wanda and go make a couple kids real quick?
no shit, that's what she needs to do.
Well, it's not about just having kids. It's about getting the kids she made back. Like,
Yeah, she wants the
that's
pre-baked
craziness.
ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
She wants the craziness of it.
The real problem is that movie sucked.
Well, there's that too.
There's that.
But I'm racist, Paulie. Don't forget that.
I remind you every day.
Yes, all right. Robert says Top Gun will be a hit amongst older crowds, and their excitement doesn't track online as much. I think it'll do 500 to 600 million. Early reaction was good. I hope you're right, Robert.
Me
I
too.
really do. And I'm not
great.
going off of any tracking, to be honest with you. I'm just going by my pure instincts on that one. And my box office instincts are pretty darn good. I was one of the few people who called that No Way Home was going to be at least $1 billion. So a lot of other people thought I was crazy when I said that, but I'm like, no, it will. Trust me. Master Clockwork says Mike needs to keep his Schwartz cool and dry. Well, that way you don't get infection. Right, Mike?
What? Yeah, but there's probably other things I could do that would also help getting the infections.
True. But, that's why we tell you to stay away from the X. So,
I know, but she wore this outfit.
That's impossible.
Don't get into it. I don't want to hear excuses.
Freaking Paulie.
Rob Altus has been a member for 14 months at the edgelord level. Says heroes are dead among Hollywood. Willows in victimhood and negativity. I think he means wallows. They didn't or don't understand fantasy and have no imagination anymore. Harold Midnight's Edge in the morning. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is all the heroes have to be flawed and reflective of a lot of these people who are making them. And if they don't see themselves presented in these things, then they don't, want to watch it, or they think it's not right, or it's
and
not
different
woken up
types,
and all that
like
shit.
very mundane flaws, not interesting flaws that you have to overcome. Like Superman's flaw is that he's kind of alone and he doesn't want to, like, he wants to actually have a real life and stuff, but he knows that he's kind of alone because he's a different species than anyone. And his flaw is reconciling that just because he's a different species doesn't mean he will be alone. Like he
Right.
ends up falling in love with Lois, and he realizes, yeah, just because I'm an alien doesn't mean I can't actually have a life. Even if I can't have 100% of what I really want, having just a bit is enough. And it goes into his thing where even if he can't save everyone on the planet, being able to save those he can is enough. Like that's the type of flaw you give to a character like Superman. For Batman, the flaw that they keep doing, which is a terrible one that's antithetical to the character, is his obsession with the Batman persona and trying to fix all the crime in Gotham. Like that's not his flaw. Like Bruce Wayne's flaw is far more deeper than a mere obsession. It's basically the fact that he's so hopeful that he sacrifices the things that his parents would want from him as a life in order to make sure that no one else has to go through what he went through. It's not the obsession of the mission. It's just the fact that he's not living. He's living the best life that he can in honor of his folks, but not probably in the way that his folks would really want if they were alive.
Yeah, they constantly have this incessant need to go back and make Batman still pining over his folks. Which, I mean, it's one thing to have him, giving them loving memory, but then to turn around and have him constantly pining over this stuff. And that's where I think like things like the Batman and I have issues with, and where the animated series got it right. It's where they understood that, yes, he knows that's a part of who he is, but he doesn't dwell on it constantly like they do in most of the Batman.
No,
movies.
the Batman the animated
because
series,
that's just such an easy place to go to for the.
It's a lazy place to go.
Exactly.
Like Batman the animated series does it well. The 66 Batman with Adam West does it really well. Like he mentions it once, but it's like Bruce Wayne, he's very proud of his life and his accomplishments, and even though he wishes his parents are around, it doesn't hurt him in the same way that it would if it were fresh. And
it unlocks and provides purpose. It does not create daily anguish and misery.
Exactly. Like he much like with everyone else who loses someone, you learn to live with it and it becomes a part of you. But if you dwell on it too much, it's self-destructive. And Batman is the opposite of being self-destructive.
That's why the Mask of the Phantasm has one of the best storylines they've never used in any of the movies, really. And that is where, he's just getting into being Batman and he's kind of getting that thrill and that rush of it. And then all of a sudden he has the opposite thrill and rush with falling in love.
Yep.
And then he has that crisis. It's like, I made this promise to you, but you're not here anymore. What should I do? Like there's this whole, like, that's the kind of crisis where he should have something as far as what's going on between him and his folks, or, his folks being gone. Because him being Batman this is why I hated the Batman and people going, yeah, but he's year 2 Batman and he's not yet a star. Like, he's fucking Batman. He should know this shit, but he spent 10 years getting to be Batman.
Hey, Tom. I didn't say Batman. I said he's a bad man.
Oh, he's a bad man. Okay, that makes a big difference.
Did you see it?
Did
you see the skit this weekend?
No, I didn't, but that's pretty funny.
It's hilarious, man.
You'll have to send that to me.
Probably the best thing I've seen on SNL.
And Doctor Strange did make money, and it will continue to make money.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I bring this up even though it was a yesterday article, Deadline throws a little shade at Marvel here. So we're starting to see some cracks in the main media. So I'm gonna go over this real quick. Saturday AM right through after Saturday AM or Sunday AM right through after Saturday AM post. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had a great fall in its second weekend, down 67% for reported 61 million take. Rivals are seeing 60 million to 68%. While that drop is akin to the second weekend declines of MCU titles, the uber successful Spider-Man No Way Home, which had a 67.5% drop, and The Black Widow, which had a 67.8% drop, know that all these percentile plummets, let me make this bigger, sorry. All these percentile plummets are not equal. Doctor Strange 2 ranks among the MCU's biggest second weekend box office drops, which includes Black Widow, No Way Home, and 2003's Hulk at 70%. The latter was executive produced by Kevin Feige, though not part of Disney's Marvel. Actually, kind of, well, it's not Disney's part, but it's still Marvel Studios. Doctor Strange 2's second weekend decline simply rests on bad word of mouth. This is the part I was talking about right here. The sequel receiving back-to-back meh grade from CinemaScore for an MCU movie, B+ to Eternals B back in November. All of this should be a splash of cold water in Marvel's face as they go crazy exploiting the IP between features and streaming Disney Plus shows. So yeah, that's the kind of part I want to key in on here most of all, guys. The fact that Deadline is saying that this is kind of a decline and that the movie is not well received, that I think is a big deal because it's not us saying it, right? It's not a couple of guys on YouTube saying it or even just some random pundit. This is Deadline saying this. So I got to get your guys' reaction to this. Let's start with you, Mike.
He literally just left like a.
Did he really just BRB? Okay, go ahead, script.
Well, there's nothing really to say. Of like they're just saying that it's got to decline. It's again, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. Movie success is based on its rewatchability. If they're not making something that people want to see again, it's not going to be good. And we're seeing their audience reflect on this, and it's come to a point where even Hollywood inside their own bubble can't ignore it.
Well, we constantly see them spin, like Black Widow out to be some kind of success. It wasn't in some of the other films like that,
which was easier to do after the pandemic. But after Spider-Man: No Way Home crossing that $1 billion+ mark, and then this one
nearly
right on its
billion.
heels, yeah, $2 billion, and then this one on its heels is like you can't ignore the data anymore. Like the other part too is again these trades they have to constantly present themselves in a way to still maintain credibility. So every once in a while they'll post something honest, and this is I think one example of that. It's like, listen, Marvel, you clearly didn't hit what you should have here. We thought we definitely could have blamed all the other performances on the pandemic, but after Spider-Man, we can't do that anymore. So what left is there to say? Well, we got to go the truthful route or the honest route, and look at the numbers and say, yep, this is it. I mean, it's going to be, I think it's going to beat the Batman, but yeah, this is. Yeah.
One more
Sorry,
thing,
go ahead, Mike.
One more thing to build upon what you said, script, is that not only do I have zero desire to rewatch this thing in the theater, which with Spider-Man, the first time I saw it in a regular theater, and I said, I can't wait to see this in IMAX or something, like 3D.
And you went and seen it in 4DX or whatever.
Yeah, and then I went, the next time I saw it in 4DX, and then the third time I saw it actually with Paulie in regular Rumble Studios, not the 4DX, but the regular ones where the seats move. This one, not only do I not have any desire to see it again in theater, I don't think I'll watch it when it streams. And more importantly, I have no interest in buying the DVD. When Spider-Man came out, I couldn't wait to hear when the DVD got released because I wanted to see No Come Home.
No Come Home is on the Netflix.
Now I'm doing it now, Tom. I can't say I call it No Come Home.
No, but I agree with you. And you know me, I buy physical media of shit I don't even like, right? The last Marvel movie besides No Way Home that I have bought was trying to remember what was before Black Widow.
Spider-Man: Far From Home.
That was the last one I bought then, because I've not bought any of them since then, and that says a lot for me.
Yeah. If you buy everything, you're the way with 4K video like I am with lightsabers.
Well, I mean, I'm a completionist. Like I even shit I don't like just because it's like I can't not have it. Batman and Robin, even for instance, or Teen Wolf too.
You can get something out of Batman and Robin.
This is true. We're gotten to a point where I've had to make the argument that Batman and Robin is still probably a better Batman movie than the Batman, but I don't want to stir the chat up. So
I already made that claim. I already said the Batman is probably the worst written Batman story we've ever gotten on film.
I know some people are starting to notice it too now that the movie's out on streaming and stuff. But Paulie, how do you see this as Deadline kind of throwing a little bit of shade at the Marvel Universe?
Yeah, two things. First of all, Midnight's Edge has been the new Deadline. They're watching our streams,
You think
our
so?
reviews, our opinions. Maybe a little bit. Not that matters, What matters is that our audience knows so. That's why they're here, because you guys been calling this way before these these pinche vocosos have. Okay, that's one. So yeah, okay, I'm not surprised. Just like what Script Doctor says. Two is when I got out of that film, I literally text, "What the f did I just see?" I know it's making tons of money. That's not a litmus for me. You know, what was it? All those Star Wars movies made tons of money. Those movies were awful.
It's the brand over the quality. Like when Nike released that one shoe that fell apart, but it sold millions. It doesn't matter.
So I it was incomprehensible for me. The storytelling, the narrative script was disastrous.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was like really cool little moments here and there, like like where you saw the Raimi come out. I don't know if he just didn't care after they I don't know. I was shocked. And then the written disaster of America Chavez, not the actor. Let me, you feel like this day and age.
I liked the actor. I thought she was doing the best she could with that material.
She's delightful. I said that, she's absolutely delightful. There was moments of endearment that could have been this very cool, father, daughter, mentor, new kid on the block. You saw that. I'm pretty sure that connection was cut out even more between Doctor Strange and America Chavez, because those work. You saw those little moments, and I'm not talking about those moments where she's putting him down early on in Spanish.
No, the other stuff. Yeah. I know exactly where you're getting. That's the stuff I liked the most between them. Is the fact that he was opening up and being a role model to her, but also being encouraging her, and it wasn't a status game of I'm better than you and this is why type of stuff that we get before.
You saw that storyline was there, because at the end, when she's like now a student at the temple, what does she do? She goes to say goodbye to Strange.
Yeah.
I mean, like there was maybe 3 to 4 different types of movies in this one movie. Ultimately, also ultimately Marvel with this depiction is completely offensive to Latinos who want a great character that happens to be Latino, in that you had America Chavez,
but she's not Latino. She's from another dimension.
I know. I don't know that, and I don't care.
I know, but I'm being called racist for that right now online.
I don't know that, and I don't care, because I didn't read the comics, right? I heard about the problematic comics, but I'm going into this movie with, me, Tom, I like almost everything. I'm very optimistic. But when she used certain words that Puerto Ricans just don't use, I'm like, what is? It's like, oh, it's lazy, and ultimately, it's a souvenir, it's a token, and it's offensive, and that's what I put in my video.
Tom, you're being called racist on Twitter right now?
Yep.
But I'm the one who said that in my review last Thursday, a week ago Thursday when we did this, I'm the one who said that they should have built an interdimensional wall to keep her out.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
You know what you need in your avatar, Tom, to protect you from these racist accusations? You need a sombrero.
Wouldn't that be cultural appropriation?
Yeah, but I'll authorize it. It's good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, 64% drop off. I am shocked. I'm not shocked that's making a lot of money, because Script and Tom, you predicted it to be so. My number was, I didn't think it would crack 500 million, but obviously, what do I know? I do think with a drop off significant is super duper significant, and I believe that it speaks to word of mouth. I know that I have been asked. I know that after Spider-Man No Come Home, son of a gun, after Spider-Man No Way Home came out, I was telling everybody and their mother to go watch it. And there were several people who said, yeah, but I'm kind of, and I said, no, go watch it. Like I did with Ghostbusters. When people asked me about this movie, I said, don't waste your time. Overwhelmingly. So,
yep, I agree.
I think what's going to happen, Paulie, have you had that same experience? Because I think what's going to happen is I think that word of mouth of the lack of quality is going to drive these numbers into the tank.
I mean, at the end of the day, who's going to be talking about this movie a year from now, 2 years from now? No one.
Well, nobody's talking about Black Widow, Shang-Chi, or the Eternals, and it hasn't even been 8 months.
I can see the high ground on Shang-Chi, but you're right. You're right.
So yeah, let's see what the audience is saying here. Just David says on Mike's comment on Superman, Sony made No Come Home, Sonic 2, and Suicide Squad. Well, Sony didn't make Suicide Squad.
They didn't make Sonic 2 either. That's Paramount.
That's Paramount, yeah. Unless he's just saying that, so we can still get mostly. I think he's just saying they're good movies.
I mean, technically, Sony didn't even make No Way Home. They just licensed it out to Disney to make the movie.
This is true, but I think he's just pointing out that there are good movies out there, I think, in general. However, we know which studios are awful. Warner Brother is there, and I don't trust them.
Just David, that is exactly that was the last point I was going to make, and I didn't go there because me and Script started talking about other stuff. But that's the thing. I don't trust Warner Brothers to give us the Superman we need for these times, at least in a theatrical film release. Maybe as Paulie was talking about with TV show, but I'm talking about theatrical film release. I don't trust that studio.
They just don't have anyone there that can do it, and they're not looking in the places where they need to look in order to bring those talents in. That's just the fact of the matter. And I was telling a little bit about this, Tom, before the show, but we won't jump into that yet because there's still more things to cover. But yeah, Warner Brothers is most likely they're going to have a change of house, but they'll most likely repeat the very same thing that they got in the first place in the long run. It doesn't look like they're going in a positive direction for my take.
That's true. And then we have Callum Lyle who says Kevin Feige is turning into KK. Does Victoria Alonso strike you as a drunken groomer? Did you see that video with her trying to speak Spanish? No, I didn't, but I'm sure she's one of the main issues.
She's been there from the start.
Yeah, but I think she's
a Spanish speaker, so I don't know what she said.
She moved into the role that James Gunn was supposed to kind of fill. Not exactly, but like the fact that she was the one who supposedly pushed for America Chavez and some of the other things that are going on right now. So I don't know. You were going to say some Script, sorry.
Well, they invented a new position for her last year, which some people thought was her being exiting out. I'm like, no, that's her being prepped to take over Marvel when Feige leaves. Yeah, she's been there from the start. And listen, she may have lobbied for America Chavez. There's no illogical reason to do that because if you're going through the multiverse, what's a character that can traverse it? Well, America Chavez is that one. So why wouldn't you want to put her in there? The fact of the matter is that I don't think they handled that aspect of it very well. Bringing in the character is not really a bad idea. It just
but is there a reason for it more so?
Well, we don't know 100% what her reason could be. I would not be surprised if all the ancillary things also helped with that. But I mean, if the concept is we're doing the multiverse, like if they said we want to bring in America Chavez as a result, we have to do the multiverse, then I would have a problem with it. But I think they came up with the idea of doing the multiverse first and then thought,
you're not wrong. What I'm talking about is the grander idea that they're bringing in all the new 52 characters and killing off all the originals. That's kind of where
Marvel now, I think characters. Yeah, the 52 is DC.
I'm sorry, Marvel, all new, all different. Sorry, that's
and just speaking to Victoria Alonso. LA Times has an article that came out this week. This is not new. She said it before. She says, as you know, I'm not a superhero fan, but I am a fan. And she's speaking to an audience before the Doctor Strange showing in Hollywood. It's like and Sochi's there. And
she's not a superhero fan. What the fuck is she doing working for Marvel?
Correct. She says, as you know, I'm not a superhero fan, but I know you guys love them. I'm like, what? When I was reading up on it's a crazy article because it's just all these young kids, not from 13 up, moviegoers that were interviewed for the article, and then some of them had their photos in it, cosplay and everything. Just the whole article for me was a train wreck, but she did say that, you know. So
Which
that's
is
what you're.
fine because
That's
she's a producer. But the thing is that being a fan
that's what
is
you
not a
got.
qualification for much of anything other than being a fan. I mean, it's a byproduct of awesomeness, actually, as opposed to a qualification to make something great. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at fan films. Majority of them are far more derivative and terrible than something that's really wows people. But
Yes,
that has
she
nothing to
is.
do with the fact that they're fans. It just has to do with the fact that they're so much of a fan that they may not have the business mindset or the creative perspective to do for those particular people. Doesn't mean that anyone can, because the other part too is that if you're so good of a fan that you can contribute and then create something new for that franchise, you're a fan, but you've also elevated and crossed that invisible bridge into creation and contribution. And that is what a lot of people, especially in Hollywood entertainment and even other fans, really want. They want someone who's like, yes, I grew up with Superman and I decided to do this and I wrote this story, and it wasn't placating fans or being patronizing to fans. It was actually like building up to all the things that they wanted to see but didn't know they wanted to see at that time. Like that's the type of stuff you need to do to contribute. Not necessarily a fan can do that, but it's not necessarily required. And I don't think it should ever be considered a like, I understand Hollywood's perspective why fandom is not a qualification, because it might prevent you from actually challenging yourself to do something amazing with the character. But at the same time, they're also a great barometer of whether or not that something will work. So it's a catch-22 almost.
Well, she's you know, she's Argentinian, so she speaks fluent Spanish. And if she said the phrase "hijo de puta" in an interview, that's a very non-woke thing to say when you're talking. Mike can back me up, you know. So I haven't seen that video. There's some people in the chat talking about it, what she says in Spanish. So I will go check it out for sure. But that's just you know.
Well, how about let's go check it out let's go check it out and come back, and I'm gonna go check it out right now. Hold on.
Okay.
Well, while you're doing that, we have the boss man
I'll be right
here.
back.
So suck in your guts, guys.
Greetings, everyone. How's it going? Sorry I'm late.
Greetings.
Andre, I'm going to go on a Midnight's Edge with Paulie. We're going to go off. We're going to go in the backstage. We have a diversity and inclusion assignment from Tom.
Okay.
We're going to go do some minority verification on Miss Alonso. We'll be right back.
I didn't know that we were into stuff like that, but
well,
as long as it's coming from you guys.
Well, you don't need my sombrero very often, Andre, but I think today is a day where we're going to use my sombrero. I'll be right back.
Okay, I take your word for it.
But yeah, the main topic I brought into the equation here, Andre, was I brought up that Deadline article where they actually threw a little bit of shade at Marvel, saying that Eternals in this movie are not doing well, and they're saying they might have had a splash of cold water in their face. What do you think?
I have not yet had time to read this here Deadline article, but it leaves me real curious. When they say stuff like that, they have said A. Do they say B? Do they point out why? Do they just go with maybe they're a little bit overexposed between the movies and Disney Plus? Or do they go into the character assassination? Do they go into the thematical sidestepping of Doctor Strange? Do they mention any of those by any word?
No, they just simply say it's bad word of mouth.
Yeah, okay, because if it's if they just say bad word of mouth, and they are too afraid to say why it's bad word of mouth, then we are just as far. Or they are afraid of giving Marvel and Disney the feedback that they so sorely need. And until they are brave enough to do that, I don't know why they wouldn't do that, because it's obviously it's a couple of things here. One is that the whole thing is a sequel to WandaVision. I mean, that's bad to begin with, because not a lot of people liked WandaVision, and not for the reasons that they would want them to. So that's one thing. And then, of course, you have Wanda in this movie, who I have said before, and I'm not sure that every single audience member will be able to enunciate it in words. But my issue with it is that as a villain, Wanda she's crazy, evil, and stupid. There's no sympathy going on. Like, they were trying to go for sympathy, but there's no sympathy to be found here. She's just crazy, evil, and stupid. And that's kind of like the worst kind of villain. It's like one that has absolutely no kind of compelling feature whatsoever. Most people looking at that, they won't be able necessarily to break down exactly why this is a horrendous villain, but they just won't connect with her at any level whatsoever.
Yeah.
And at the same time, again, not everyone will be able to like tell that Doctor Strange is really a side character here, because he has so much screen time, but he doesn't have an arc. He's just like haplessly thrown from one situation into another. And if Deadline Hollywood doesn't point out any of these things, they don't give like any kind of forensic analysis into, okay, it's bad word of mouth, but why is the word of mouth bad? If Disney had had some kind of feedback from the trades indicating, you messed up here, you did what you thought was good, what you thought people were going to respond to, but people aren't responding to it, it's time to accept that. Until the trades are willing to actually put that in writing, it's not going to be any real changes here. But on the bright side, they are actually saying even this. Just this is a good sign that they're saying it's bad word of mouth. But I really would have liked them to go all the way and break down why is it bad word of mouth. Like, no analysis is really complete without it.
I agree. I think it's kind of ambiguous, but at the same time, the fact that Deadline's saying this, they're finally coming out and saying they're not infallible. In so many words, they're not making excuses for why it didn't do as well or not doing as well and why there was such a drop off. That's the thing I think is
there aren't any excuses for them to cling on to right now.
No, that's like the thing. There's no excuse, but it's still a matter of what is up. Why is this not working? Because bad word of mouth, that's, again, it's just half the equation. You have to understand why. Why is it bad? Because only when you know why is it bad do you have some means of going ahead to try to fix it for next time.
Oh yeah, you gotta find the source of the problem. And
exactly. And
the fact of the matter is, they have a handful of movies where they've been given all these excuses to blind them from that source, and now you get the first crack in the armor, so to speak.
Yeah. And that, of course, is promising with cracking the armor. But however, what I always am nervous about situations like this is when there's a crack in the armor and it isn't spelled out for them, so they have to do their own forensic, meaning the ideologues have to be the one to point out that, whoa, our ideology really isn't working here. That's when you have the risk of them doubling down and doing even more of what people didn't respond to. I'll give you one example. Man of Steel to Batman v Superman. Warner were frightfully disappointed with the reception to Man of Steel. So they basically told Snyder, okay, you have to figure out why people didn't like this movie. What was it that they didn't respond to? And do less of that and more of what they like, so we'll get $1 billion next time around. And no one really understood it. They all slightly misunderstood what people like. They heard what people didn't like, but they interpreted it in the wrong way. Which the end result was that everything that Man of Steel did bad, in a sense, Batman v Superman, while trying to correct, in reality did 10 times worse. That's my issue, and it's not spelled out for them.
And then you can say it twice spelled with Justice League, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because then they have to figure it out for themselves. And
it kept on compounding.
Yeah, exactly. And they might not be the best judges of what went wrong.
See, and they're not even bringing in Shang-Chi, which, it did okay, but it didn't do nearly as well as it could have or should have.
Did they bring in Eternals?
They mentioned Eternals getting a B+, but they didn't bring up the box office.
Okay, and they also didn't bring up why the Eternals only got the B+. Yeah,
exactly.
So they are still afraid. They're still afraid of pointing out why.
And now we actually kind of have some proof of what people have asked us for years now, and that is, will it just take one bad movie to kill Marvel? No. They have literally had, 4 or 5 bad movies, and there's only one good movie in this phase so far, right?
Pretty
Like,
much, yeah.
That's where we're at this point. And
Yeah,
and
honestly, we are. I mean, this whole Phase 4 has been a disaster. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
How much of Phase 4 between, like, I did a count recently, and I don't remember now, but I remember my count, like 6 Disney Plus series and 4 movies. Name them. Real quick.
that's
Name those 6 Disney Plus series and 4 movies. Name them, and then say which one you ever feel like seeing again.
well, I could name them all pretty much, but as far as wanting to see them again, Spider-Man No Way Home is the only one going to get my vote. But you have WandaVision, you have Loki, you have Falcon Winter Soldier, you have
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye and Moon Knight.
which are all series. And then as far as the movies, where did Phase 4 start?
You missed one. That's only 5.
Yeah, you missed one.
Oh, the multiverse one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What
yeah.
if?
There you got those. But yeah, you had to help. You had to have help, and you had to think.
Yeah. I didn't watch What If either, though. So
No, but that's like the thing. Phase 4 is the one where a lot of people haven't
Phase
watched a lot
4.
of installments, and I think we see the effects of that now in this movie.
in the
Like
movies,
this
I have
movie
to remember.
here.
Does it start with No Far From Home, or does it start with?
It technically
Phase
starts
4?
with Far From Home.
Okay.
Well,
So as far as
what do you
movies,
mean?
we've had Far From Home, Black Widow, Eternal, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, No Come Home,
And Doctor Strange.
and Doctor Strange 2 now.
Yeah. Shang-Chi was the first feature film. Phase 4 was formally kicked off by WandaVision.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't sure which one was the actual kickoff point.
The kickoff
But-
was for WandaVision.
That's what goes back to what Script and I were talking about before the show, and kind of brings us into our slightly secondhand portion of the topic here. And that was Alan Horn possibly coming back, where there's a lot of reasons why we're at where we're at with Marvel here. But I would argue he is one of the main reasons we're here.
Well,
and that
coming
is-
back where? That's the thing, Tom. People might think he's coming back to Disney. He's not.
Yeah, okay. So go ahead and tell what you're talking about then, Script. and then
Well, the rumor is that Alan Horn might be going back to Warner Brothers, where he was,
where he originated.
where he retired, and then
Or,
Iger
yeah.
cajoled him into coming over to Disney around around 2009-ish, I think, or 2011, and from there, Horn helped Iger facilitate the purchase of Disney and purchase of Lucasfilm and Marvel, and sort of start that new era, which worked out well for Marvel, not so much for Disney. And then he kind of overstepped his authority and fired James Gunn, and you can take it from there, Tom.
Yeah, that's where Phase 4, or Phase Bore, as we like to call it, went off the rails. And that was
Pretty
the
much.
moment where Alan Horn took it upon himself to fire James Gunn and completely fuck everything up. And that's where I'm not so sure that Victoria Alonso, her movement into her new position wasn't a result of that whole situation, because the whole Phase 4 got flipped on its head. And it's funny because the only movie that most people like out of it, No Way Home, was a complete accident. It was a fluke. That was not meant to be the third film. That only came about, as we remind people, when Warner Brothers started announcing that they were working on getting Michael Keaton back for The Flash. And to be reactionary as always, Feige's like, all right, we're going to do it, but we're going to do it first. And he did, and he pulled it off. So
Yep.
that's the only
Just
thing
like with
he's
the
done.
Eternals and New Gods.
Yes, and as we pointed out, that was basically the Eternals was Kevin Feige getting Stop or My Mom Will Shoot It.
Yeah.
The short version of that is Sly got tricked into doing Stop or My Mom Will Shoot as a joke by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because he knew the movie was going to be so bad that he's like, if I pretend I want to be in this movie, Sly will do it, you watch. So he got Stop or My Mom Will Shoot It into doing Spider-Man No Way Home, or into Eternals, and losing out in that equation because they never even made,
New Gods.
New Gods. So, and now Ava's out the door because her Naomi series is done too, I think. So, yeah. But no, the whole Alan Horn thing, as far as him coming back to Warner Brothers, I don't know. I'm not so sure. I think, honestly,
I
his
hope
time
it's
is
only a
done.
rumor, because if he does go back, it's literally going to be the death sentence for Warner Brother Discovery, or they'll be starting far more steps back than they are ahead. Because Alan Horn, he was like a huge prominent producer in the 90s, but he's also one of the guys that worked with Les Moonves to create the CW network. So, and he also worked with Les Moonves, so there's that issues
He's like
there.
80 years old, you said, right?
Yeah, he's like 80.
You know what? The
should be
only one who
retired.
should hire him, Bob Chapek should hire him just so we can fire him again. He's like, okay, I want to hire you. Okay, now that you're hired, we announce it. I'm going to fire you on your first day just to humiliate you some more for what you did to Phase 4.
Well, and I don't want to take away from the guy because he was there during some of Warner's best years.
Yeah, he was, and he completely ruined Phase 4. Alan Horn is directly responsible for the destruction of the greatest cinematic franchise of all time, bar none. It can be traced back to one man, Alan Horn. Of course, there are many, many other things, but if you have to point out to one individual thing, it is Alan Horn who fired James Gunn, because when he did that, started a series of events that were all kickstarted by that one event. I mean, that was the one little push that got all the dominoes falling, which resulted in the current state of the MCU. Without James Gunn, Victoria Alonso, as you say, probably wouldn't be in her current position where she exerts all the influence that she is doing. We would be going more cosmic. Things would be more ordered. It wouldn't be as haphazard. I mean, this whole phase has been boring and chaotic at the same time.
And desperate,
in the worst possible, all in the worst possible ways. And that's because it's lost its architect.
Yeah, I think I don't think that the multiverse was the plan for this phase, because as we know, it was meant to go cosmic.
Well, just look at Spider-Man: Far From Home, and this is one thing that I wish that I had remembered as I was writing the previous Doctor Strange video we just put out. So definitely going.
Well, we're doing the sequel anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. Because remember this: in Spider-Man: Far From Home, they are teasing the multiverse concept. And then you have like Mysterio, who claims to be from another multiverse. And then he says that, we have control over the multiverses, so we have assigned all these numbers, and we have assigned your universe 616. That's your number. And then of course, we're told this is all bullshit. There's no multiverse.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. So this was just something he pulled out of his ass, this whole 616 thing.
Yeah.
And then in Multiverse of Madness, now we go into this
Christine says the exact same thing.
where they say the exact same thing, and your universe is 616. Well, what are the odds of that? Well, the odds are shit writing and desperate planning. That's what the odds are.
Well, and my other question is, when does Loki take place? Because Loki is supposedly the reason there is a multiverse.
Well, I can answer that.
Yeah, because that also went back to my reasoning is asking, well, in Endgame, that was the whole reason they couldn't they couldn't back to future their way out of it, because he said, you can't go to the past from this future because there's no multiverse kind of thing. Like, so that's the whole thing. Like, you can't do that. So that all kind of falls in itself.
But again, this is where they kind of like lose track of themselves, because yes, Loki created the multiverse, but when it's if you want to be technical, Loki is the one that enabled female Loki to start the multiverse.
Right.
Of course, she was the one who did it, because he was sidestep too. And when female Loki, the better Loki, when she killed the benevolent Kang that kept the one true timeline, or the one sacred timeline, in check, and snuffed out the multiverses before they could form, the moment that happened, then the multiverse was retroactively created, because then it sprung back into history from all points in history. So then it went from one moment till there never having been a multiverse, to in the next moment the multiverse always having existed, because it sprung out from all points of history.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's no origin for it to split. They're all completely separated in parallel.
But,
like, that's the thing. And on top of that, they don't even get time travel. I mean, again, Endgame has got a lot of story problems to it. But yeah, you're right, because I think what we're seeing of this phase bore is really just the beat sheets and outlines of what they want to do with the multiverse that has not had the time to gestate and be refined as well as the previous phases before this one. It's basically like, okay, we're 50% done with our multiverse stories. well, we don't have the cosmic stuff anymore, so we're just pulling it up ahead, and we're going to rush it to completion to get it out to meet our release windows.
Paulie, you were going to say something? Paulie?
No, you
Yes,
disappeared.
I'm here.
You were going to say something.
Oh, I mean, I just wanted to pose a very important question right now. Will we be doing Stonehenge tomorrow night?
No, we will not be doing fucking Stonehenge, but I did do it the other night on karaoke.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Whoever's phone is buzzing,
rest
turn
in
it off,
peace.
please.
Well, it's I've been on mute. I really each passing TV show and movie, I just don't care now. I'm just really to me, MC, this whole thing died with it should have just ended with Endgame. And Spider-Man was good, but I don't consider that part of the whole thing. But that's just me. So even talking about these TV shows is just like,
Well, they're all so bad.
Yeah,
Because
the best of the
that's the
show so
issue.
far
that
is
the-
Hawkeye, and that's not saying much because they really didn't. They can't get.
Yeah,
they
but
can't
that
stick
too
landing
had
on
the
any of these.
problem that it's fundamentally a movie with a ton of filler to make up 6 episodes.
That too, but then not a single one of these shows have stuck the landing. From what I
Nope.
haven't seen Winter Soldier and Falcon, so that needs to be said. And I never finished watching half of them, but I did watch the wrap ups and reviews and all that kind of stuff. So I'm well aware enough of what happened, but it still doesn't matter because WandaVision lost me halfway through. Loki, I stepped out after 1 episode. Hawkeye, I made it all the way through just to be so fucking disappointed by that last episode. And Moon Knight, I made 2 episodes into, and I can't anymore. So, and what was the other one? WandaVision. I said that already. And what was the
Wanda.
other one?
What if you didn't
What
even
If?
watch What If?
I
What
haven't even
If?
watched What If or Falcon and Winter Soldier. I totally checked out of those 2.
There's some good episodes in What If, though.
I've been thinking about going back and watching the few that people have recommended, but I'm not going to sit there and watch a whole. I hate that animation style. First of all, that's the problem.
The cell
But who
shading.
cares? Who cares about any of these compared to
Exactly. That's
Captain
the problem.
America, Winter Soldier, Civil War?
Well, and that's what I
these
was
are-
saying is where's
these
the
are
series?
awful, man. These
We
are
could get a
awful.
series of
I
Captain
think
America
after coming
putting-
out of Doctor Strange, I just like it was like I don't know. Maybe I woke up.
Are you
I'm
woke?
no, I'm awake.
No, you're right, Paulie, because I'm like stuck at this point where I'm like, I don't give a shit about this. I would rather see a show about Captain America putting the stones back after Endgame than any of the shows we got.
That's
None
a
of
movie
them.
I'd watch.
Exactly.
Or miniseries. I mean, there you have Disney Plus miniseries. The adventure of getting the misadventures, rather, of getting the stones back in their place. They just breeze right
Heck,
past
I would
that.
like a series of basically Captain America, secret agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's basically him through the 60s, like James Bond style, going on to missions that he knows from his history in the present
That's kind
that
of
were
what it
not
would have to
that
be.
were bad guys were not successful, and it's because of him and only him that they weren't successful, and he's keeping the timeline of history stable.
That's the thing is the show could go on for a while, right? Because he's
Yeah.
kind of stuck in time. He can't go no place. It's not like he can leap around or anything. He has to go put the stones back, but he has to wait until that precise moment to go put them back, right? And again,
Yeah.
No, he
that's
just travels
all-
to the precise moment to put him back. He doesn't have to wait.
Does
I
he
think
travel? I thought
it's
he
a
waited
fine
back in
idea,
time.
Tom.
That's the point.
It's a fine
Like
idea,
Gold
but
at the end.
can we
No.
all agree that
I'll
with
have to
each
rewatch
of
Endgame.
these
It's been a while.
television shows, maybe some of these movies, they have maybe a good episode in them out of 6, out of whatever.
Oh, you're right, because he just goes back and chooses to stay in the 60s.
But that's
Sorry,
not
Paulie.
that's not a good. That's not good. That's
Yeah,
not
you're not
good.
supposed to have one great episode out of your series. You're supposed to try and have your audience debate what is the best episode because they're all great.
But also too, that they're only 6 episodes
Yep.
of Moon Knight. I was out after the first one. I hated it.
Oh,
And I
I
love
hated the
Oscar
first one,
Isaac.
too. Me too. He's a really good. I only didn't like him in the Desmond Llewellyn Desmond artsy film that he was in. That's the only time I wasn't thrilled by his performance. But I think the character was
X-Men, he
more.
wasn't
Again,
that great in
can we
either.
all agree that there's interesting here, interesting that, but this is all. I mean, I'm gonna say mediocre at best.
No, and
Yes.
you're right. I just remembered now. Yeah, he does hop around. So there you go. You have a show that basically could have been Quantum Leap meets James Bond, and they fucked that
for each 6 stones that he returns. And then I would follow it up with, 1950s James Bond style Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like he's kept in secret. Nobody knows that Captain America is still around. And it's like, okay, we're sending you off to Europe because there's this guy who's going to blow up the world. And Steve Rogers is like, well, I know he doesn't succeed because that was never in my history from the future. So I got to stop. I got to do this to stop, Hydra or whatever is doing that thing and keep things normal. And then you can have an episode where he fights the Red Guardian. And then, because that's exactly what was going on in Black Widow. Red Guardian actually fought an old Captain America in the 80s, and nobody believes him because they don't realize that he went back in time. It's showing a time loop type of thing of a singular.
Yeah, I caught that too. Yeah, and that's what I want to see is him come face to face with the Red Skull again. But of course, we know it's not the same exact Red Skull kind of thing and all that business too. And yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff.
Do we sit around and have coffee and talk about our time?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. There's all kinds of possibilities there. They're almost endless, but yet they decide to give us something like WandaVision, and it's like, anyhow, I agree with my dog. She just sighed as well. Dan Campbell says that might be true about Snyder's version, but the Jesus Kal-El parallel has been used in the comics even decades. It might not be the normal interpretation, but there is some precedent for it. Yes, there is.
Yes, it's been used in the comics and poorly and
poorly. Yes,
poorly and ignorantly. It's from bad writers.
Yeah, I have to agree
writers
with that.
Bad takes on that.
Because the intention was also always Moses. Why would we go and change that? I mean, Jesus and Moses are kind of not interchangeable.
Exactly, and that's
They're
exactly
not. I think it has to do with some people that never bothered, that maybe only took a look at the New Testament and decided never to, grace their eyes over the Old Testament.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Well,
I remember what websites.
Why would anyone do that?
I think it's out of just a lack of information, because I remember in the early days of the internet, if you wanted to search for Superman, you get a lot of Superman sites, and so many of them will be paired with Superman is Jesus.geocities.com, and it's this massive elaborate thing of why Superman is Jesus, and you don't.
So it's GeoCities' fault then.
I think. Well, I mean, it's been done in some comics. Basically, someone's like, "Yeah, I get what Superman is," and then they're like, "He's Jesus." It's like, no, you're looking at God sending a man to Earth to die for our sins. That's not Superman. Superman is basically an immigrant, a refugee, a survivor, who decides to help and support the world that he landed on, that he came to. He's trying to make it better, and not as a ruler, but as a contributor. That's the difference. It's he contributes to society and helps. He doesn't try to take it over, and that's why he could,
but he doesn't. Exactly.
That was one of my issues with Man of Steel, where Jor-El was basically, I sent you there to rule those pleb. They will tremble under your wrath, and they will be afraid, and they will stumble. But
that's what I didn't get either, because he wants the same exact thing Zod does.
Follow in your light.
Yeah, and Zod doesn't make any sense either, because that's basically the same thing Zod wants. It's okay, so he agrees with Daddy, and not only top of that, Zod's like, you know what? I want everybody to be like me, so we're gonna restart this planet and make it the new Krypton. It's that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
That's what Jor-El wanted too.
Megalomaniac maniac ever fucking say in their life.
I mean, don't even get me started on that part of it. It's those humans, they're just gonna have to learn to share their planet with their Superman overlords.
It was done better in the season 4 of Lois and Clark. It really was.
No,
I can believe that.
It's pretty obvious. Zod would be like, oh, so that's why I love Zod's line in Superman 2, the Donner, well, not Donner, but the Richard Lester movie, whatever you want to call it, where he's like, he cares for them, I guess, like pets, I suppose. That's the way Zod would see it. He'd be like, okay, they're a bunch of fucking, just they're
disposable.
They're disposable. But why would you want to make everybody just like you when you could rule this entire planet? Because you could literally crush each and every one of them if you wanted to. You don't even have to touch them. You just look at them with your heat, whether it's heat or laser vision, depending on which version you choose, and just destroy them that way, right? Just the whole idea that he would do that makes absolutely no sense. The whole Kodak thing makes no sense. That's why I think they dropped that whole fucking thing from the story. Like, notice how they didn't really pick that up anywhere ever again. You know, it's like that thing was just, the whole idea, because Man of Steel could have been great. Like, but we got down.
I left for 2 minutes to go get my cell phone.
We're back on Superman because
we're back on Superman.
But that's okay because Dr. Chico says they should grow some balls and do Superman Red Sun. Well, they wouldn't do that now.
No, that's not happening anytime soon.
And I mean that would have been typical. I mean, it would just be Zaslov's luck if Sarinov and Hamad actually had made a Superman Red Sun movie last year, and they had it due for release right now. I mean, that would just fit perfectly in with Amber and with
I'm
they
fully
tearing
getting
it up
behind this
in
Red Sun
Hawaii.
movie. I think I liking this.
Yeah. And for those that aren't aware, Superman Red Sun, that is basically, what if Superman was raised a Russian?
Yeah, that's the joke. There you go.
I think he landed in Ukraine in that version too.
Yeah, even better.
Callum
Better. That would be like the perfect movie.
Callum Lyle says Superman doesn't give up against a powerful being like Darkseid and create a creature like Doomsday. Yeah,
that is true. He does not.
No. Then he also says, and he takes his time and talks and listen to people who are thinking about
offing themselves.
Yeah, that too.
Yes.
Well, that's what bothered me most about BBS. He's like, I need your help. And then he just proceeds to push Batman around. It's like, you dumb fucker. It's like, all you had to do was stay 3 feet above him out of the air and just say, hey, they got my mom, dude. And they're trying to pit us against each other. Let's go fuck them up. That's all he had to say. But then the movie wouldn't have happened. So.
Well, I mean, that shows that you made a movie that doesn't need to be made.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you have to contrive a way to get your two guys to fight. I say bad guys because they're not really great heroes in that film.
No, they're not.
Then you don't have a story. That's the thing. Like, you just haven't created the foundation needed for them to actually have this conflict. I mean, they did a fairly decent, perspective thing for Bruce Wayne to be against Superman, but they did nothing for Superman to actually, when he gets to that position, be like, yo, listen, Lex Luthor's been manipulating us this entire time. He just told me. Like, he showed me pictures of my mom. I think we're being played as pawns. And then you'd have Batman on the offensive and Superman just kind of like letting him exhaust himself until Batman decides, okay, fine, I'll talk, I'll listen. What do you got? And
well, not only that, they probably would have up front, because let's be real. Most people know when you're engaging some kind of possible threat or enemy, you don't start just fucking blasting away like Batman. He just comes in there full barrels, just fucking going after him. And then Superman does the same thing in that scene where I said, he's like, we got to talk. I need your help. And then he just fucking starts pushing Batman around. And It's like, you dumb fucker. That's not how this works. Those two would have had a few conversations before they got to this point, before they realized they've reached an impasse. That's how these two generally fight. It's because neither one of them are, their first thing is not to go to violence, right? Their first thing is to always try to talk to the individual and find out what the fucking situation is. And I think it would have been a much better film had they had done it a completely different way. And that's the thing. BBS is almost unredeemable. You cannot fix it. I know some people like the ultimate cut, but I'm sorry, it is a bad fucking movie all around. And the Martha thing is my point exactly.
Don't get me started, Tom. I like that recut. I like the Snyder cut.
Because yes, I get it. The crutch of the point is Batman needs to realize that even though Clark and Superman are aliens, he was still raised on Earth. He's still just like them in a way, like he has a mother. That's the whole point of the Martha scene. It's like, duh, you have to see him as not just an it and a thing, but as a being who's there. It's not a human being, but a being.
You know who needs to make a Superman movie is freaking Tom Connors Jr.
Oh, I already redid it. I did a script before I ever met Script Doctor. One of the last things I did before I became a part of Midnight's Edge is I was putting together a video called Man of Steel, and I called myself the Script Doctor to fix it. It was the first one I did. And I never finished it because I became part of Midnight's Edge, and Andre just said, yeah, no, that's not what we do here, but you can throw it up on Patreon or whatever. And I did. So it's there, and it's there for members to check out. But yeah, I basically spend a half hour rewriting Man of Steel into an actual Superman movie. And it's real simple. There's just a few little tweaks, and it's all it took. And the biggest of which is not making Pa Kent a complete moron. And Zod, for that matter, and his dad, and everybody else. You know, it's funny how all the men in that movie are dumb.
You know, what's real funny is how professional screenwriters who are paid hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars couldn't figure this out.
Well, the best part is we get a voiceover of Lois Lane's article, and apparently she's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. And what she wrote in that article was like run-of-the-mill, like dark, like tabloid rat level of like this word jumble. It was garbage. It was like, you know, David S. Goyer just was trying to. He just couldn't do it. He just couldn't write a basic newspaper article.
You mean David S. Demonic Toys Goyer couldn't write a movie?
He can't direct much well either.
Demonic Blade Trinity Toys Goyer. One of the worst full moon movies ever. He wrote it.
He also was responsible for the adaptation of Foundation on Apple Plus TV, which, as you can tell, nobody's talking about.
No, it's real easy to fix Man of Steel. First of all, you get rid of that codex shit. You flip a few things around in the beginning. You send him to Earth. You make Pa Kent not die of a tornado, and you have him teach him a few lessons. Like I said, you bring that story from Man of Steel, from BBS into Man of Steel, instead of having the stupid, should you have let him die, Dad? Well, I don't know, maybe. Cut that shit out. You don't need that crap. You know.
Or you go all the way and say, and you have him say, were there any witnesses? Yeah, they all lived. Well, make them dead.
Exactly.
I mean,
Well, we got to fix that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go that direction, freaking go all the way.
And then at the end, basically, yeah, Zod's not going to want to terraform the Earth. And two, you basically have Superman using the advantage that he has been on Earth for 30 years against them. Even though they outnumber him, it
And
takes
they're
them
trained
time to
soldiers,
adapt.
and whereas he's just a country boy.
Exactly. That's where he gets the upper hand. Because they're trained soldiers, he wouldn't normally, but he uses the advantage of being on Earth for 30 years where they have not
They
conformed
haven't
yet.
adjusted, and they can't
Exactly.
adjust. It's too difficult.
And they do adjust in like 2 minutes. And
That's the other thing I have a
and
problem
in those
with.
2 minutes, that's the time he had to go and snap the necks of each and every
Exactly.
single one of them.
He doesn't even have to do that. In fact, in my version, I said, if you don't
No,
want
he does have to do that.
He can, or he doesn't even have to. He can just go put him in prison in that fucking ship that he found.
But
There's
he has
that too.
2 minutes.
He got more than that. That's the thing. And that's what pisses me off in my version. I said it took him years to become accustomed to Earth. How the fuck did they do it in 2 minutes?
Freaking quickly.
That's what I said. How the fuck did they do it in 2 minutes?
Probably because they're trained and disciplined soldiers.
To adapt on something that you can't really train for. That's weird.
And I know you, Andre, should know that better than anybody.
No, I know. I'm just saying that the movie established that Salt got over that pretty freaking quickly.
That's what I mean.
Well, here's the other part
He
too.
took to flying and lasers, all that. There's like, oh, this is how we do it now. Took him 2 minutes. And
There's
fine.
that,
So
but-
you established that Clark Kent, he's a bit, or Kal-El, he's a little bit slow because it took him years. But what took him years? Movie established that it only took him 2 minutes. And if Clark Kent is going to be like, you know what? I'm going to pretend that you didn't just do that because it took me years. And I don't want to be that. But well, maybe he's not that good. Maybe he's below average on Krypton.
The
No,
point
you're
was
missing
in my
the bigger
rewrite.
part here. You're missing the absolute bigger part. Zod went to other planets that were quote unquote terraformed to fit Krypton, and they all died out. And I think that has to do with the fact that those planets, they created kryptonite on them, and then they were poisoned themselves to death, which they would have done to Earth.
I think
that
you're
could
right.
be.
I remember the part you're talking about. Yeah.
Like Zod literally would have killed himself in terraforming Earth, and whoever survived on Earth would be mutated or poisoned or whatever from the massive amount of kryptonite radiation in that size. It doesn't matter if it's a higher band frequency. You would eventually do damage to the human genetic structure.
No, the fact that they are there and they are actually superior makes absolutely zero sense for Zod to want to do that. Like, that's one of my other.
It was also another flaw.
Zod still dies in my version too. Don't get me wrong, but yeah.
That's also another flaw with the Superman 2, with when Zod and Ursa and Non show up on there. Like they just no.
My version, he just uses that shit to his advantage that he knows, that it's going to take them some time and all that kind of stuff.
I think the real problem with Zack Snyder's choice, and again, I'm a Snyder guy, yada, yada, yada. The real problem is what?
That's fine. That's nothing to be embarrassed about. You're good.
No, but no. Let me just say this: the problem was that his choice in storytelling. As someone who's been reading all of these comics, because I'm a DC guy throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Of course, the 70s and early 80s ones I bought when I was a collector. But the fact of the matter is, he made the wrong choices in terms of which stories to tell and how many of those stories to tell from the comic books, because the ones that he picked and how he tried to put them together, it's unfathomable that they could have been done properly in 1 or 2, let alone 3 or 4 movies, the way he tried laying them out. That, regardless of being a Snyder fan, he chose the wrong stories to tell for this character, and he jumbled them up, and it just, there's no director could have done it justice, because the error in choice was fundamentally wrong in the beginning, even though those comic book runs are some of my favorite stories of a 30-year period that I was reading those books. He picked the wrong ones and he put them together the wrong way.
Yeah, and I brought this up on screen and I accidentally took it down before I got a chance to read it. Eric Room Manson, who's been a member for 6 months, or actually 12 months. So 1 year anniversary. Thank you for being a member, Eric Room Manson. He says, caught a bad case of Peter Principle. He has been promoted out of his area of expertise. I'm not sure exactly who he's referring to at that point, but we were talking about, let's see here.
Oh, Alan Horn, probably.
Probably Alan Horn, maybe.
Maybe, or Victoria Alonso.
At least it's his.
That's actually true for many people in the.
It is, yeah.
In the Disney complex, not just there, but
yeah,
especially there.
They won't fire you, but they'll promote you up high enough so that you fail and are no longer an issue.
Yeah. And then Darius Munchausen sends us a super sticker. I'm pretty sure it's popcorn. Thank you for that, Darius Munchausen. And then we got Callum Lyle, who says Tom Taylor touched John Kent too much. Jesus Christ. John David says, I don't accept terrible Disney MCU movies are profitable. Regardless of the numbers, they cook books and everything to make things look good. Well, at the same time, David, there's plenty of the general audience who are into these movies and they don't pay attention to a lot of the stuff we do. But they're also getting tired of crappy movies, right? So after they've seen Shang-Chi, Eternals, Black Widow, things like that, then they go to see Spider-Man and it's, like classic Marvel movies. It makes you feel like you had a good time. And then you go see Doctor Strange and the terrible boreness. Like it's almost depressing in a way. So people don't want to go to the movies to be depressed. If they go to see a movie like Milk, where they know they're going to be depressed, or Philadelphia, that's one thing. But they don't go to see like superhero movies to feel like they just walked out of a funeral. And we've got a lot of those lately. And Doctor Strange just wasn't fun. Like that's to me the biggest problem. I could have overlooked a lot of the stupidity in it if it at least was fun. And that's kind of where No Way Home is in, right? Because there's probably a lot of flaws that I haven't even stopped to think about in No Way Home that I know some people have brought up. But it's like, you don't really notice it because you're having fun. And it doesn't really equate into things. But when a movie starts making me question things and stop, Batman did that to me a lot too. I don't know if you guys have any examples that are like that too, but where you're just sitting there and all of a sudden 10 minutes into the movie, you're like, wait a minute, but if that works that way, then why this? Then you're clearly not into the movie.
That's what happened to me with Shang-Chi. As soon as I saw 2 valet parking attendants in San Francisco decide that they could, on the spot, fly to China first class at the last minute, knowing that those round trip tickets are at least $8 to $12 each, I said, F this movie and F this storytelling.
Yeah. And actually, I brought up the wrong member chat. It was Merlin's Id, who said Spider-Verse did the whole alternate universe family thing better.
It did much better. Yes, it did. I think it did. You know why? Because in Spider-Verse, the animated movie, the Kingpin, he is someone that actually had a family that he wants back in. Now, it's not going to be his family, but at least he has actually lost someone. Whereas Wanda, she's just
if you're talking
stupid and insane, pining for figments of her
talking about
imagination.
the WandaVerse movie, yes. I thought he meant Spider-Man No Way Home. I was going to argue.
No. He's talking about the Spider-Verse
Into the
movie,
Spider-Verse,
like the animated
yeah.
one.
No. I thought he meant better than
Kingpin.
Spider-Man No Way Home, not Doctor Strange.
No. He's talking about, because remember in the Spider-Verse animated movie, the Kingpin in that one, he's the one that wants to traverse to the multiverse because his family is dead in his movie and he wants them back again. So he wants to go to, I don't recall if he said that, he wants to find someone in a multiverse where he is dead, where his equivalent is dead, so they can all be reunited. That I don't recall, but I would imagine he must have thought that far. But he, at the very least, has actually lost someone. Whereas Wanda, as I said, she only wants figments of her imagination. She wants someone she never had, someone she's just dreamt about.
She needed a dream about me.
Well, I'd be careful with that. I mean, look what happened to Johnny.
Oh, yeah, good point. And the next super chat is?
Next super chat is from Daniel, who says for $5, normies only attend these titles because of the work that much better movies did in the past. When will they start flocking to different shiny lights? And you are exactly right. I think that the MCU movies are going to start seeing a tumble very soon here. Case in point, the Transformers movies. For a while there, it looked like they could do no wrong. One after the other crossed 1 billion, no matter how bad and worse they got. But at one point, the audience suddenly had enough, and then they stopped going. And I think that the MCU is going to be that too. But as for the other part, there different shining lights. Well, right now in this moment, there aren't any different shiny lights that can offer the same kind of storytelling that the MCU can. However, for Zaslov, this is a golden opportunity to make the DC universe into that. Let's just hope that the Flash movie doesn't destroy everything out of the gate.
Crossing your fingers.
Yeah, and I've heard some pretty bad things about it from people that have seen early cuts.
Well, I heard a more recent screening did better than the last few, but that ain't saying shit. So we'll see. We haven't even really got a decent trailer yet. So, Master Clockwork says, how many times do people need to be reminded that Disney, Marvel, Lucas hired people that hate the source material? They're telling their own stories. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Well, certainly the last few years, they didn't start out that way. Not as per the previous Super Chat, when there actually were really good movies, that they were made by people who loved the source material. It's only recently, when you have like the likes of Alonso, that hate the source material, apart from the comics from the last 10, 15 years.
Not that anyone asked after I got back, because we probably forgot, but I did go and watch her speaking Spanish and what she said, and I think made me want to puke.
What did she say?
She basically said in Spanish that I'm not sure which video. I found a few examples of her on Spanish, talking Spanish online, but the one that made me sick was the one where she turned to the camera. One of the interviewers basically suggested, hey, we can't understand what you're saying. And she looked straight dead at the camera and said in Spanish, well, I don't give a shit. They need to learn Spanish.
And who was the audience for?
This was on the red carpet at the Eternals premiere.
Oh, okay.
And she looked dead at the camera and says, what'd she say? No me interesa, no me, ellos tienen que aprender español. She's basically saying, like I shouldn't have to speak English. You guys should learn Spanish. I'm like, are Steven Spielberg having secret white people Spanish English movies? Like we're like what? Like that's just rude. That would be. Can you imagine if the five of us, you, me, and Paulie, like just the five of us on the screen? Can you imagine we did a Midnight's Edge meetup and we're on for doing a panel and we have all of our Midnight's Edge family, all 1,000, 2,000 people, and we're having our Midnight's Edge meetup at wherever, Vegas or wherever we're going to do it when we ultimately do it. And we get together and we're all mic'd up and me and Paulie start talking into Spanish. And now all of a sudden, Andre, Tom, Script, and everybody else has no idea what we're talking about. Like, we're just not that rude. We're not that kind of people. You know, it's like that to me, doing something even as little and minuscule as that signifies to me how much they are disconnected, how much they don't care, and how much they don't care about the fans, and how much they don't care about the things that we as fans love. I mean, give me a break. You two girls want to go talk Spanish and no one knows what you're talking about? Go to the bathroom. Go out in the hallway. Go to your car. Go out to lunch. Go, you know what? Go make some tortillas and go have a little wine afternoon as girlfriends. I just find it a completely and totally offensive. And I speak Spanish fluently.
Yeah,
I
it
agree
also
in
it
general
also
that
assume,
people should learn other languages, Spanish included, but there's a time and a place to present that message. And on the red carpet of an English-speaking country, maybe is not the time and the place. Especially not to journalists who are there to cover the event.
Exactly.
But yeah, well, good for her.
And then Rave Girl says, hi, all. Marvel is running on fumes and reflects it in the films, or movies, sorry, and they will not age well. Time to regroup and revisit Marvel in a few years. Well, that'll never happen.
This era of Marvel right here, not just Marvel, but of like all entertainment, it's going to age so poorly. And depending on how things play out, I mean, those that wanted to be on the right side of history so badly, history is going to pass a really harsh judgment on them.
Yes, indeed. The Master Clockwork says derivative is fine. I don't care as long as it's well done. I don't ever give something new a takes a risk bonus points if it's done terribly. I get what you're saying here, and that's true. But I do.
Derivative is why we got here, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say I will actually accept somebody falling flat on their face as long as they try something different than if they fall flat on their face trying something that should have worked.
Yeah,
Like
there's a
BVS, for
different
example.
there's a different effort behind it. If here's the other part too. Derivative and done well rarely partner. I'll put it to you that way. If something is done well, but you say, "Oh, it's derivative," it's like, well, okay, that's good, but that's not enough. The whole goal is to not be derivative. I just read a screenplay that was very derivative, and it didn't do anything new, but it was written well. But it's like doesn't mean anything because it does. I could easily forget about this thing tomorrow, and that's what derivative usually means, that you forget about it pretty much instantly, and have no care to go back to it.
Yeah, and I don't really care for derivative characters and stuff anyway, so I'm not getting into all that.
if I
Michael,
could just say something really quick.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Paulie.
It Andre, it also assumes she assumed, I'm talking about what Victoria said, Mike, that every Latino in the U.S. speaks Spanish, and they don't. So, that's also a very kind of just a bubble within a bubble thing to say.
Yeah, bubbles for the win. Anyway, moving on. Michael Millard says for 14 South African rounds, Deadline can't get over it because it checked all boxes. Yeah, that's exactly my point. That Deadline, they can point out that this didn't do well, and they can point out that audience feedback really isn't all that good. But pointing out why, that's gonna be too close to home. And before the trades, before some publication is willing to just say the quiet part out loud, say what everyone knows. Because my reading, just from outside, is that this is very much so an emperor has no clothes situation. Everyone knows the emperor has no clothes. Everyone can see the emperor has no clothes. But so far, no one have dared point out that the emperor has no clothes, so that they all can start laughing and mocking and jeering and point and make fun of the emperor. That's the point where we need to go to with all this wokeness. We need to get that point where someone is able to say, the emperor has no clothes. No one wants this. These are crazy ideologues that make movies for themselves, and the vast overwhelming majority of the real world reject this stuff. Someone in the trades needs to point this out, like say it explicitly, loud, so everyone hears it. And then they can all join in and start laughing at everyone doing it.
I say the problem is whenever that happens, they automatically get bombarded. I mean, even Bill Maher says shit like all the time, and he gets trashed for it too. And I'm not even trying to say that he's
Yeah, but
someone worth
Bill
listening
Maher
to
is
all the
someone
time.
that like goes in and out of the circle. Sometimes he's in the good company, and sometimes he isn't.
Right.
This is something that needs to come from within. It
I know,
needs
and
to
they
come
won't say
from
it though.
prominent voices, or it needs to come from the prominent
No,
trades.
but the problem is, going back to what Paul Chato has brought up, and I believe this wholeheartedly, he's right, that they've always made movies for themselves. The difference is we just have this Marxism / ideologues and all this shit going on inside that is disrupting the whole thing. Because at least before, it didn't matter so much as they were making shit for themselves. It still was about making money or getting the Oscar or getting the acclaim or what have you, that their goal was off of said product, right? This is a totally different thing. This is like some indoctrination tool now. This is a propaganda tool. As much as they try to pretend certain things were certain ways in like the 80s and stuff like that, it's 10 times worse than it ever could have been. And yeah, you're right. I think we're reaching that point. I think a lot of people are starting to point and say that the emperor has no clothes, but there's a bigger, deeper rooted problem here. And that is that the problem with Doctor Strange is not so much that it was woke, it was just bad. And it was this is where we're at now.
It felt Frankenstein together, so to speak. Like there's all these other things going on. They're just trying to find a narrative to string it all together. But here's the difference to build off of what you said. So Hollywood makes movies for themselves, but there's this caveat to it. It's like, I want to make a movie for me because I want to make it for people like me that want to see the stuff that I want to see. Like that was kind of the methodology behind it. That's why something would be considered, box office hit. The problem is that we now have a minority of ideologues that have infiltrated the system, and they're using that same mindset. And the fact of the matter is that they want to try and do it in a sense of, I want to convert people to my mindset, as opposed to just saying, like, I'm kind of one of you. I just want to make a movie that I think I would like to watch, and I think a lot of people that are like me would like to watch. And because there's not a lot of people like them, they don't have that audience to actually make these type of ideological takes as successful as it would be for, say, an average person that came from not from California, but like another part of the world, moved to California, produced, made movies, and started making money because they resonate with an actual global audience. Because unfortunately, when it comes to the world, we're probably a lot more alike than we are different, but the differences are strong, right? So, and the whole idea of filmmaking is, I want to make sure that all the things that we are alike are in this film, so that they can build up and allow people to really gain access to this story and feel it and feel something from it. You can't do that when you have a minority ideological narrative and things, because a lot of people just don't believe in those ideas.
And that's unfortunately when they get really desperate and want to double down extra much, so they get more people to be like them.
Yeah.
And that's how we end up where we are now.
Indeed. Then Infinity Flare says, went to the theater with my kiddos, saw The Bad Guys, about 40 others in the audience. It was endearing, hilarious, entertaining, and rewatchable. Yeah, so far that movie's done pretty good, from what I recall.
I've heard good things.
Yeah. So there you go. There's family entertainment out there besides Sonic is out there as well. Then Jason Gray sent us a super sticker. I don't know what it is, but I'm willing to bet it's a Shiba dog doing something. Doing an Amber Heard. I don't know. I'm kidding. But speaking of Amber Heard, you should check out our limited edition Amber Heard t-shirt. Show everybody where you stand when it comes to the current situation going on in the world right now.
I do believe that she doubled down and claimed it was the dogs.
Of course she did. Is she on the cross today, or what's going on?
Well, not
No,
yet. She's
not
still
yet.
explaining. She's still.
Oh, for fuck's sake! So it's still her show. I don't care.
Yeah, she's still telling her truth.
Yeah, fuck that.
Emphasis on her.
Exactly. Michael Loparco. I hope I'm. Is it Loparco? Am I saying that right? Then maybe. Says so. When does the MCU bottom out? Disney is not very favorable with the general public anymore. This is a true point too. See, here's the other thing, though, is there's a lot of the general public who have no idea that Marvel and Disney are the same fucking thing. They don't know. There's still people out there who think Steven Spielberg directed Star Wars.
What moron put someone as a studio head like Alonzo Disney on like superhero stuff? That would be like
that's dumb.
That would be like taking me, who's into tax and accounting, and putting me in charge of the drywall department.
Pretty
If you know
much.
how to save the money, that might actually be useful, though. That's the
No,
problem.
but no.
right?
I'm talking like putting me out there on the field doing the drywall.
Uh,
I'm not that kind of. I'm
it's all
not.
in it. It's all in us. You know that.
No,
you
not in me.
implying that
No.
just because he's Mexican, Paulie, that he is an excellent drywaller?
I didn't say excellent. I've done drywall.
Well, okay.
Me
Well,
too.
you've got that in you, but I don't have that in
No,
me.
no.
I have purged the drywall demon from my soul, and
It's not even that.
Not only that,
You know
even
you got
have the
handyman
papers
skills.
to prove it.
Every
Because you have
Mexican
the
has
papers to
handyman skills.
prove you're Caucasian, don't you?
Okay, Paulie just gave me this weird like idea of this. He's like presenting the idea that Mike, even though he's well off and does well for himself, he still has this urge to hang out in front of Home Depot. Is that what you're saying? Like it's just
I don't think it's an urge. I think it's just,
a calling.
if
Okay,
I need
one-
money, I know I have an option.
For
Just
one,
picking on
if he
Paulie.
does, I'm there with him.
that
If
was
he does-
hilarious, Tom.
I'm there in solidarity with Mexican Iron Man and Home Depot.
No, you
Oh,
are
no?
going to Home Depot alone. There is no solidarity there. No. You go. No, I will give you my credit card and the list. You go find the Mexicans and get the stuff on the list. I will be playing Halo on my PC gaming custom rig.
Oh my God.
I will be charging my lightsabers.
Oh, I love it.
Anyway.
Give me the credit card. I'll go to Home Depot for you, Mike.
I'll get a
And
few
our
other
next
things
super
out,
chat
too.
is.
No, this is funny.
That is hilarious. I love that. That
Love
was
you,
good.
Mikey.
I love you all.
Love
You're
you more.
great. Mega J says if Phase 4 was a huge disappointment, I can only imagine how Phase 5 will turn out. Oh boy. Well, it's Phase 4 is ending the way it was supposed to start with Guardians of the Galaxy, so I think that's going to be the only other shining light in this phase.
Probably, because that's when we see how it's going to. That's where we see what we missed out of. Everyone should remember. Before Alan Moore fired James Gunn, what you get with Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3, that's how Phase 4 was supposed to begin. Everything else we got to that point, that's a result of Alan Moore firing James Gunn.
Well, and we also have a bit of bittersweetness to this because of this whole thing, James Gunn's walking away, and so is Drax with him. So you can almost imagine who's going to probably die in this movie.
They can kill them all. I don't think any of the Guardians will be coming back. Probably.
I don't know. I think I have a. I'm willing to put donuts and money on Taika Waititi water park guy fucking directing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4. What do you think these Thor movies have been? They're basically his resume for that.
Well, it could be that Thor: Love and Thunder calls or ties directly into Guardians of the Galaxy Part 4. They woke now. That could happen.
I'm not kidding. I have a feeling, just like Sam Raimi's going to direct Spider-Man 4. I have a feeling. But then that begs the question, who's going to direct the Fantastic Four?
Probably John Krasinski.
You think so?
Maybe.
I'm not even sure he's coming back. I think that was just a fan gimme for that movie.
I hope so, because I don't think he'd make a great Reed Richards.
Get ready.
I hope he's not coming back. Because
Get
he
ready
sucked
for
as Reed.
non-binary Asian
The Human Torch.
something else mixed Reed Richards. Don't forget the non-binary part.
Yeah, no, let's not forget about that.
Because that's going to play into his whole idea of why he stretches so much.
Oh God, he sucked. God, that was horrible.
That's the thing, is we can think up this woke shit better than them.
Yeah,
Because we actually understand the characters, so we can actually apply this shit to the characters better. That's the problem. It's like, you want to go woke? Let's get woke. That's what we need to do. We need to just make the ultimate woke movie, right? Just go all out, show them how it's done, make the best woke fucking movie you could ever make, so they just sit back and going, fuck. How can we beat this? It's just this it's so fucking woke. It's perfect. You know, and then we just send them in a tizzy and they don't know what the fuck to do for a while. because they won't know whether to love it, hate it, praise it, trash it. And while they're busy dealing with that, we'll take over everything else. How's that sound? Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan to me. But let's move on with the super
Yes,
chats.
let's, because we got some Norwegian krona coming in here
Yes,
from out of
Paris
Spain.
Blaine. How's it going, my friend? I haven't seen you for a while. And Paris says, Happy Constitution Day, the best national holiday on earth. No vehicles, no guns, happy school children marching, have good food and beer. Yes, indeed, this is right. For those that do not know, tomorrow is Norway's Constitution Day. And the way that we celebrate it is with the children, all the school children going in parades. Also in the capital city, they parade in front of the castle where the royal family is out to greet them. So yeah, it's quite nice. So happy Constitution Day to any and all Norwegians out there who may be watching.
Then I got these mixed around in a little bit of order, so I apologize, Six. She's probably going nuts trying to figure out because she makes sure I don't miss anything. Infinity Flare, this came in, I think, before the last one we read. Says, also saw a Thor movie poster only features Lady Thor holding Mjolnir with a line that reads, "One does not mean only." Yes, it does. Peak MG. Yeah, that reminds me of that stupid meme that like has the 6 or the 9 on it, and people are like, it all depends on your point of view whether it's right or wrong. It's like, no, that is either a 6 or a 9. The idiot who painted it, though, should have been more obvious with their choice by putting a line under it or whatever, because that signifies something, right? Like that whole argument is flawed. I hate that argument.
It also looks more like an open bike lock than a number.
Exactly. Like to be able to make that meme work, it's actually pushing the whole point beyond where it should be. And yeah, anyway, like, yeah, that what you just said here reminds me of that meme. Exactly. And I think Thor, the Lady Thor movie, unless the whole thing is some joke and we're being trolled by Taika Water Park harder than we thought, like this movie is
Victoria Alonso is behind it. She is the
That's
one
my fear.
Performing the same role that Kevin Feige used to perform. Because in our recent video, we spoke about how Alonso, she was the one really calling the shots on this movie. Kevin Feige, he's there as an executive producer, but if you want to do a better example, he had no more direct involvement on this than he does with Sony's movies. He could have more, but he's chosen not to. He's chosen to outsource it to Victoria Alonso, who on a day-to-day basis, in not just Doctor Strange, but in all of these things, serves much the same day-to-day purpose that he used to do. She's the one overseeing all of these projects now, starting from Phase 4. They are Kevin Feige productions technically and formally in name, but in actual reality, for practical purposes, they are Victoria Alonso productions. And just consider that Thor: Love and Thunder is a Victoria Alonso production, and she's all about the subversion of the comics of the past 5-10 years. So no one is like going with, oh, look, we were teasing this thing right here that you all hate, but here's what we're really doing. No, it don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. What we see is what we're going to get. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but that's how it is. And then we have John Edgar, who says, "Hail, gentlemen, preach on. Also, screw Kurtzman." So I guess that must have been from before, but yeah, I stand by that.
I think he's just adding on the screw Kurtzman for whatever reason. Just cause.
Yeah, no, I agree with it. I don't know what you were talking about, but I agree with that, just regardless of context.
Yeah, and we got that one, so we're good there. And then just David says the Invincible comic was a great conquering Superman story. Amazon must have a good showrunner, but turned as much wholesome to nasty as they could. I'm not familiar with the
That's the Invincible cartoon on Amazon.
Oh, the Invincible. Okay, yeah.
Watch it. It's a pretty good. I have read the entire series. It's a pretty solid series. It does address like certain wokeisms of the 2017, 2018 era, but it's not overt in any type of ideological narrative as what you get today. And the show does a pretty good thing. The only thing they did is they ruined the girlfriend character. In the comics, she was far more endearing and likable, and in the show, she's an SJW. But it doesn't matter because he doesn't end up with her anyways.
Yeah. I think you mentioned that before, yeah. 37 and Nick Weiser's in the house. It says, Martha, why did you say that name? What? He said Martha. He said my mother's name. Thank you for that, Nick. Planner Aspect says, agree on plot issues, but Zod is genetically compelled to be this ridiculous for civic duty. Always sort of took it as an anti-governmental message. Yeah. Oh, fuck. Yeah, anyway. Not only that, the beginning of that movie does everything bass-ackwards out of order. But anyhow, STR Red Wolf says, this skips all over the most important question of the day. What about Conan? What's going on with our favorite barbarian, Andre? Yes, we'll take a break from some super chats here because I said we weren't talking about this until you got here.
Right. Okay.
So what's going on? What the hell's going on?
Okay. Let's begin with the rumors. Let's begin with the rumors that are out there.
Yes.
And the ones that did a really good breakdown of everything here is Bounding into Comics. So I'm going to send you the link for that as we break it down one piece at a time. And then I just want to emphasize that everything that we're saying right now is a report straight from Bounding into Comics. So this is not me offering anything new or something that's not already out there. So far, just referencing Bounding into Comics report on this. And Bounding into Comics, Tom, if you can bring it up on screen, it's there. There, excellent, thank you.
Yeah, and considering you're saying it like that, that means you do know something. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
I will say right away, I don't know anything. But if I did know something, I'm sworn to silence, and I don't know anything.
See?
But let's break down everything here, okay? So, what they're saying
Bob
here
knows
is
what that means. That means
according to a new report, Tencent has recalled Marvel's comics license to Conan the Barbarian, supposedly in preparation to self-publish their own stories based on Robert E. Howard's iconic Hyperborean warrior. So that is the headline from Bounding into Comics, which was published yesterday on May 15th. And what is their source? That would be Bleeding Cool's Rich Johnson. And he published this story on May 14th. So here we actually do have to credit Bleeding Cool. Yeah. So Bleeding Cool, they are the first ones that actually broke this story. Where someone then said basically goodbye to Esad Ribek's Conan cover because he's been doing some painted artwork for those covers, and then there was some convention in Italy where some questions were had by the Lake Como Comic Art Festival, something like that. So basically, Rich Johnson did a little bit of digging. And this byline here, then, from Bounding into Comics, that is what he found out. That Tencent has recalled Marvel's comics license and supposedly in preparation to self-publish their own stories based on Robert E. Howard's iconic Hyperborean warrior. So that's the story. That's the report. Now, let's break into it. Is it true that Marvel Comics license is gone or is up for grabs? Whoever revoked it or quit it or whatever, is it true that it's no longer that they're done with Conan? I don't know for certain, but probably it's true. And that will, in that case, have been in the works for some time already. Because here's the thing. The Marvel comics of Conan have, in my opinion, actually been really good. I wish more people had bought them. But the problem is that Marvel sales are in the gutter across the board. Marvel comics don't sell, and the DC comics don't sell.
I was going to say, are there actual sales plural or?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we've always
No, sorry.
called them the big two, but yeah, now they are the big two in the gutter sense. And they have rendered themselves completely obsolete. Manga is the new number one. And
That's what I
they
mean.
are
Like
the
when they ask,
future
how many did we
masters.
sell last month? And they're like, oh, we sold a couple. Well, how many is that? No, literally, we sold 2.
Exactly. So that's the problem right here. That the comic book market is in serious decline. And Marvel comics aren't selling. I mean, the only thing that sell is like the Spider-Man titles, some like really high-profile Avengers title, and even those sell in numbers that would have gotten the smallest of titles cancelled just 20 years ago. And of course, in that environment, the Conan comics book don't sell all that well either. Now, that is a shame, because unlike the rest of Marvel comics, these are actually good. They've always been. Conan has not been sidelined. He's not been toned down. He is still Conan, because he's not Marvel's to do with as they please. He's a licensed character, and they have to pay. I don't know exactly how much they pay, but it's a fairly sizable sum for the license to print Conan comics. So here we then have a situation of a publisher in Marvel that that is paying a substantial fee for publishing a character that they're not completely in control of, that isn't selling any better than their other characters that they don't have to pay any kind of license fee, and that they are in full control of. So here you can see a situation where Marvel might not be entirely happy with the situation. That's one side of the equation. Then you have the other side here, because bounding into comics, they point out Tencent. Now, what I can say right away is that Tencent, they have nothing to do with this. Conan is owned by Conan Properties, which in turn is owned by Cabinet Entertainment, which in turn is owned by Funcom. And this is the level that matters. It's the Funcom level. And then above Funcom, of course, there is Tencent, which is Chinese. But from what I understand, Tencent really has one interest in Funcom, and that is the bottom line. And what happens underneath that bottom line, they don't really care all that much about. So like, for instance, do Tencent care about what happens with the Conan comics in particular, or anyone in Tencent, that company, going to get involved in micromanage?
No, that'd be the
Conan
equivalent of Pepsi
No.
worrying about one taco that Taco Bell is putting out.
Exactly. So no, Tencent, they have nothing to do with this one way or the other. Now, Funcom, that is a different matter, because I am of the understanding that they're trying to go for a major relaunch of Conan in conjunction with the Netflix series anyway, and that they could have some plans of their own, as they are reporting here, as is reported by both Bounding Into Comics and Bleeding Cool before that they might go into some kind of self-publishing. I don't know, and if I knew, I would say I don't know, but there could be something to that. It makes sense. It's not at all outside the realm of possibility, because as it is right now, they have veto power in Conan Properties. They have to approve every single script, and this is why the stories of Marvel's Conan stories have been pretty darn good. It's because Malmberg is there and he approves every single issue.
Can I present the question to you like this, Andre? And I know you can't really technically answer it, but I guess, can I get your feelings on this? Would it say be something to it's beneficial more to Funcom to regain the rights to Conan because of all the other characters they probably have a rights to, and the fact that they're kind of limited by what they can do if they were to have this license with Marvel, and then this opens them up to more possibilities, kind of along the lines of what Malmberg was saying about the whole Netflix deal, is that, you know, if it works, it opens itself up to all kinds of possibilities, and they're not like handcuffed by just doing a series or a movie or whatever.
It would be very beneficial for them to have all rights.
That's what I was thinking.
Absolutely would be. Because as it is right now, they have the license to Marvel, meaning that they can't actually do anything that they want in the comics themselves.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, The way that it works, my understanding is that Marvel comes up with stories and stuff like that, and then cabinet, they approve, or they can come with notes, but they can't say, we want to tell this story, and then we want you to tie that into this comic with this character. They can't do that because that's like Marvel's responsibility. So they can keep Marvel in check and make sure that whatever story
what I'm
that
saying is,
Marvel
like,
tells, but they can't tell Marvel what stories to tell.
right. So there's that restriction, but also on the other side is, I'm thinking, my point is the restriction of, let's say Tencent wants to put out a bunch of different comics. There's already the license out there to Marvel. They can't do that, right? They're handcuffed by the fact that they're licensed to Marvel. So if they get out of this, then they can technically, if they're their own publisher or do it through their own publishing, they can put out as many Conan books in a month they want.
Oh, they can do anything they want. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Can they do that technically, though, with the Marvel license? That's my question, I guess, that's where I'm wondering if this puts them in a better position in that respect, because they're being limited now by what's being put out there because of the Marvel license. If that's off the table, then they're open to just put out whatever, or they already.
Yeah, Marvel has the exclusive license.
That's
so
my question. That's what it was.
They have that. They can't do anything else.
That was okay. That answers my question.
If
So yeah,
Funcom decides that, okay, now we have this new major update package to Age of Conan, and we want to do some kind of comic tie-in to that or something, we can't do that unless Marvel signs off on it.
That's what I was asking. That's exactly what I was asking. So this actually puts them in a better position.
It
like
does,
I said,
yeah.
To where they want next month to be able to do a bunch of different Conan books. They're not restricted by Marvel anymore because of that. That's why I wondered. So it does
not for as long as not when the licensing agreement with Marvel comes to an end.
So yeah, that's
to my awareness. There is no official confirmation of this, but it's just rumors.
So let's just say, playing devil's advocate, that this is true. That was my point. This does put them in a better position because, as you keep pointing out, or you pointed out at the beginning, Marvel's a sinking ship, and as plenty of people have pointed out in the chat, and many of us have pointed out before, we're only a matter of, God knows, maybe months, weeks, maybe a year from Marvel and DC starting to basically license out these characters to other comic publishers because they're just not making the money they need to support Marvel and DC at the core. So I see this as kind of like a first move in that sense, but I'm curious who made the first. Was it Marvel who decided, yeah, we're just have no use of this license, we can't afford it, or was it more Conan Properties coming in and saying, yeah, we want this back, and you guys aren't selling it? Because I'm sure. Okay, so yeah, that's the problem. So I guess maybe I'm presenting this question to the rest of the group. What do you guys think? Just kind of
let's hear what you guys have to think.
Do you think this was Disney trying to save money, or do you think it was Conan Properties saying, no, I think you guys are destroying the property, you're not selling enough comics, we're going to take this over from here?
I think it's a total recapture of the property before it obliterates into nothingness, because if you look at what has happened with comic book IPs in general, they've all become devalued, they all sell less, they all have awful stories, they all have truncated their audiences. Take a guy like me. I mean, I am I not only buy less I don't buy any mainstream comics anymore of any heroes that I followed for 2 to 3 decades. I'm all independent comics now. And every time there is a release or a relaunch or something that happens in any universe of any comic book character that I've ever liked, collected, which, despite the fact that I talk DC all the time, I mean, I've collected stuff like Sergeant Rock. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I bought and collected over the years, Archies and other stuff. I think this is a complete and total, let's grab this property and let's decide where it's going to go from our vantage point before it goes nowhere. I mean, let's be honest, it really hasn't. There's so much more that can be done with this universe and this cast of characters. There's a lot that could be done. And I think that people are hungry for it. That's what I think. When you're a company like Disney is not in a save money mode. Maybe they ought to be, but I don't see anyone in Disney talking the way Zaslov is talking. Okay. And see, I don't see anyone in Disney, despite the fact that Chapek is an accountant, they are swimming in cash and swimming in commitments. And by the way, they're swimming in PR. Someone got in a debate with me recently about well, if Netflix, if Disney Plus costs so much to get up and running, why are they spending so much and bringing so little? I said, let me make this simple for you. It's because Iger promised that Disney Plus was going to be this amazing thing that would add so much value, and he wrapped up the story about Disney as a company. And when I say wrapped up the story in terms of its stock valuation, et cetera, so that now they got to make that dream work. Even if a lot of the money they're spending, such as their crappy ass Marvel content, which we have discussed exhaustively on the show today and other days, Disney is not in a cost cutting, save money mode. They have PR problems, they have park problems, they have image problems, they have political problems. They don't have their coffers are flowing with cash from their cash cows. They don't see themselves in a Netflix or a comic book industry situation. This is not a save money move. This is I believe this is stewardship of the IP, and before it devolves into nothingness. And by the way, let's talk about Kermit the Frog and the Muppets too.
Mhm.
There's a property that Disney spent a lot of money on, and guess what? Put it on the shelf and it hasn't done shit.
Well, that was more of an Eisner era purchase.
But the point is that company buys stuff and then doesn't do crap with it. It has
destroy it.
It has a long history of buying stuff that it doesn't do anything with.
Well, and so you're basically saying what Southern Viking here is saying, and
Yes.
allow me to do this as Conan. If Marvel's not going to help me, I say to hell with Marvel.
Yep. Me and Southern Viking are on the same page.
So that's where you're at. Okay, Script Doctor, what do you think? Do you think this is Disney trying to save some money on the Marvel side of things, or do you think it's Conan Property saying, yeah, enough's enough, we're going to do this ourselves?
I think he stepped away.
Oh, did he? Okay, well,
Yeah,
what about Paulie? Paulie stepped away too?
Look at that. I don't know if he did or not, but I know that Paulie's muted. Oh no, he's
I'm here. Yeah, I'm not really. I can't speak on this.
AKA he wasn't listening.
No, I was.
No. Paulie's not.
I'm not a Conan.
No, he's not a Conan guy.
Well, it's not really has anything to do with Conan so
Right.
much as.
Okay,
I agree with you, Mike. I think it's probably more the
if you're
side.
saying,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, if you're saying it's not it's a Disney issue, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm the wrong guy to ask about Disney.
All right.
now.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Because
I'm
there is
so
another
upset with
side to
them.
this too. Because if it is a Disney issue, I wonder if maybe it has to do with some of the backlash they've gotten, or them
I hope
trying to
so.
save money.
I hope.
I don't think so. I really
think you're right, Mike. I do think it's more of they're trying to get all this stuff together, and I'm going to present this back to Andre after you're done saying what you're going to say.
I mean,
Mike.
wouldn't
Sorry.
that make them? And maybe maybe I'm going to say something that I'm going to. Okay, Andre, correct me as I'm about to be probably real wrong. But I would think that they would, if I cared about this property, I want to get this organized and do it myself, and then create value that way. Because let me take you another thing. This is not a character that Disney wants anything to do with. He has hair. He's got muscles. He is a guy. It doesn't matter how many people are out there hungry for this character and this property. The fact of the matter is this is a white dude with a whole lot of muscles and a whole lot of, and I'm not going to say the word toxic masculinity because I don't believe that that's a real thing, with a whole lot of chutzpah, and is a hero for our time, actually is a hero for any time. Maybe I'm getting a little emotional because Conan is close to me like He-Man. But the thing is, like, this is the last property on planet Earth anyone at Disney is going to do anything with.
No,
I will just say that what you said right there, that's why Amazon, when they changed management and got Jennifer Salkin, that's when they decided to pass on the Conan series for exactly the reasons where you say right now. They're like, we can't do with this character right here. And they did use the term toxic masculinity, which
Well, and I'm gonna
exactly what you
I want to
said.
ask you, Andre, because I'm sure you can't answer this, but it's going to give me a kind of a test the waters kind of thing. I
You
think
have
Mikey's. Yes, I do, because I love to torture
Objection,
you.
hearsay.
Because this is the only way I get to torture you compared to all the torture you put on me. So you gotta let me have a little bit of Schadenfreude. As Mikey pointed out, I feel like he's kind of right on this whole, like, we're conglomerating the license under, we're bringing him back home. And I think there's a reason for that. I think they're gearing up for the next Netflix show, and they want to be able to promote this show on every level. Is there anything to that? Does that mean there may be some movement forward on the Netflix situation? He won't answer. He won't answer. That means there's a
Silence, because Andre doesn't lie. Silence is an answer, Tom. Boss, we got
Objection, hearsay.
This is not a democracy.
Your analysis, in and of its own, is sound.
Okay, I'll buy that. I'll take that. Oh Lord. Well, actually, you're right, David. Just David points out Tom shouldn't tease Andre about torture. He could have start reviewing more of the shows that are coming out.
Yeah, that's
He
right.
has
Star
been-
Trek: Strange New
he's
Worlds.
been
We're 2 episodes behind.
Yeah, he's been very generous on not forcing me to watch a lot of things. So that was his way of just telling me I got to go watch Strange New Worlds, I guess. Yay. You're lucky I got Paramount Plus for the offer, or I'd be like, nope. So maybe I'll get into that. Primary says David S. Goyer has to be one of the most overrated screenwriters. He is. Yes. That's not even an opinion. That's a fact. I don't think Script would argue with that if he was here. He'd be agreeing with me. Nail Messiah has been a member for 13 months. Thank you so very much for that. Snail Messiah, I think, is actually what it's supposed to say. Infinity Flare says, also saw movie poster only. Oh, we got this one. Okay, see, I got this one out of order. Sorry about that. But just let me finish it. Thor holding Mjolnir in one lines. It reads one does not mean only. Yes, it does mean peak MCU. Yes, thank you again for that. Pablo Cabrera sent in. What is this? This is
that's Argentinian. That's
Argentinian.
50 Argentinian pesos. So muchas gracias.
Thank you. Yes. I am not surprised by Victoria Alonso insanity. She is from Buenos Aires, a cesspool of wokeness that doesn't represent the country.
Huh, so it's even spread to Buenos Aires. That's disappointing.
Oh, Lord. And then Dear Owan sent us a super sticker, and it was a little Sheba dog with a heart. Thank you for that. We appreciate that, and a very generous one at that. And then Bama Grad's in the house. Thank you for all the candy. Yes, I got it. And for the Cracker Jack was more of a surprise, actually. You know what's funny is they don't put any peanuts in there anymore, hardly. Bama Grad says, good show today, Tom. Did the Palmer's candy I sent taste as good as you remembered? Here's the thing, Bama Grad. You sent me some great stuff. I like the stuff that you sent me. They just don't seem to make those peanut butter patties anymore. They don't. They like quit making them. I don't understand why. What do you got there? You got an OG Conan.
Oh,
but
nice.
Thank you again, Bama Grad, for the care package. I appreciate that quite a bit. Thank you. And then we got here. You're kind of
that's issue 168.
You're looking like 8-bit there, Mike. Maybe your settings are on like 480p.
No,
maybe.
it's the focus is off.
No, it's fine. No, I see that's the original Marvel version of Conan, 168. I don't recall exactly who is the writer of that particular issue.
He could tell you probably, but
which, by the way, Paulie got for me. Thank you, Paulie.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Paulie don't know nothing about Conan, though. See? Bullshit. You just bought him a great-ass comic.
I didn't say that.
Oh, he will. He will.
I didn't say that. And don't put words in my mouth.
It was a Fleischer Buscema. I think the lettering was by Janice.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, then it would be Buscema on scripting duties with him coming up with the story, and Fleischer just doodling up a script based on what story Buscema wanted to tell.
Indeed. Master Clockwork comes back with, you know what? I realized it confused adaptation and derivative, but Hollywood keeps effing adaptations because they want to do their own terrible take. Yeah, the adaptation, the art of the adaptation has been lost big time. And I know there's some kind of, there's that fine line between certain comic book and genre fans and those who understand that you can't do everything exactly the way it is in a comic book or in a book because you just don't have that leisure in a film. There's also a way of doing it that works. And we've seen it in the past, and there's ways to do it. And you can still leave out large portions of a book and still get the idea and the themes that are there. My go-tos are always like Jaws and Jurassic Park. Spielberg was real great at taking the books and distilling them down to exactly what they needed to be for a film. Even though Stephen King doesn't like Kubrick's version of The Shining, I think that's actually kind of superior to the book. I know sacrilege, maybe, but hey, sometimes a great story is great on paper, but it sings even better on film. But in recent years, I'm hard pressed to find an adaptation that was decent. the last one I can think of would be what's the one with Jeff Bridges that he did, the John Wayne one? True Grit was probably one of the last readaptations I remember actually kind of bringing something new to the table and doing something different, and at the same time utilizing the adaptation aspect of it. Dune was pretty good too. I should have remembered that one. That's a more recent one. What about you, Andre? I'm sure you agree with a little bit with Dune.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with many of those things.
Script is back, so he can comment on the art of the adaptation, actually.
Well, this depends on what you're adapting. Like for a novel, there's a lot of stuff you have to leave on the cutting room floor because you just don't have the time. For a comic book, in some cases, especially for like story arcs, they're not dense enough to warrant a full feature film. So you have to kind of do what the basic thing is, like, what's the core of the story? What's the reason for these motivations? And let's explore that. We can do things familiar to it or similar and pay homage to its original source. But you try to go shot for shot capturing of certain images either on the page of a novel or the page of a comic book, it's not always going to translate exactly the way you think. There's been only a couple of exceptions to the rule, but again, those movies aren't held in high reverence as much as some of the more interpretive ones, so to speak. Like, if you do a straightforward adaptation of Dune, you're looking at maybe a 10-hour set of movies.
Right. Lord of the Rings is another example of how it wouldn't have worked had Jackson just did page for page, a literal.
Yeah, I mean, he was prepared to only do 2 movies, and it wasn't. Bob Shea said, "I'll give you 3, so that you can at least do the stuff that you might deep down really want to do," and that was a smarter decision. And the other part too, which is kind of fascinating with Lord of the Rings, is that every fan I know, they've loved watching the trilogy from start to finish, but they could watch any movie independently and not lose any context, which is also another point of adaptation, is that when you're doing a movie or doing a story, you want to make sure you're telling all of that story, or at least all that part of that story, so that your average audience member can walk away from the film being satisfied, wanting to see more, but being satisfied that if that is the only one we get, I'm happy. And that's kind of what you need. And that's why when you're dealing with adaptation, especially over like long novelistic stories or long comic book arcs, you can't, it's not really a good service to your audience to say, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll get them in the next one. It's like, no, you're just delaying that landing that you should be able to stick in that first outing.
Which is probably the only thing going against Dune as an adaptation, but hopefully it gets completed. But
it's tricky. I mean, if I don't know how I would have been able to negotiate it, but the goal would be like, can I just shoot Dune as in one go, and then we'll just release it a la Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Because it's a little bit cheaper on the production side of things, but at the same time, the movie, we already know the book works. Like it's a cult classic. It's a people have been reading it for decades. It has the same type of ancillary foundation that Lord of the Rings has, where what, there's not a whole lot we have to really rewrite or cut out or do for Dune. All we have to do is make sure that we hit the right story beats, we capture the essence of that character, and we keep going, and we make sure that we're telling the story as best as we can for this medium, and you should be good to go. Like, it was I guess, yeah, you said it earlier, Tom, but Shea wasn't worried about Lord of the Rings because it was already paid for, so they're fine. Warner Brothers and Legendary, I don't think, were in the same fortunate position.
Unfortunately, no. Yeah,
but they had the model to work off of and do it exactly as needed to.
They could have. Let's say, I don't think the term is amortized so much in this respect, but like, they could have hedged their bets, maybe is a better way of putting it, by filming it all at once. But then if the first film didn't work necessarily in theaters, they knew they had HBO Max and HBO as a backup to just cut it up into a series to finish it off.
Or at least have some times to do pickups and rewrites.
Right. Or even sell it to somebody else and make their money back that way. Because that's basically how Shea bankrolled the Lord of the Rings and New Line Cinema, for that matter. He ran on the basically how Canon came in and did the same thing, but he actually did it and actually did the work.
He did the work, but he didn't oversaturate his own slate with it. Because Canon had like 40 movies in a year or something of that nature.
He
It
would
was crazy.
pre-sell movies, but exactly, he wouldn't have 40 movies on his schedule like Canon did. He did the standard 7 to 12 movies range. And he would also make sure they had things like Nightmare on Elm Street movies to beef up they would rely on those to make sure everything else would make money, and then they would hopefully have a surprise hit out of one of their smaller films, which they were lucky enough to get. And sometimes you'd have a Ninja Turtles come out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it was a movie that completely changed the studio. And then from there, it just ballooned into movies like Dumb and Dumber and The Mask, which led to Lord of the Rings being a possibility, because if those things didn't happen in that order, but that's how Shea saw that, as he always hedged his bets and made sure there was an out plan, sorts, not really an out plan, but a plan to be like, okay, we can do this with it instead, or it's already pre-sold in the market, or we can send the sequel straight to video, or what have you.
Well, he had a good decade behind him of experience of various hits and misses, where he's like, okay, I know I can plan certain eventualities and play the odds and be able to, at the worst case, break even. Like, that's the brilliance of Bob Shea.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So let's get into some more of these super chats, because we got a memo to talk about from Mr. Zaslov. This says the new Predator trailer is out. I'd call it more of a teaser, and it's not even real good tease. It's really kind of like,
oh, really?
Yeah. Did you watch it?
No. Is this the
It's
Native
really
American
quick.
one?
Yeah, it's really quick.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
not
go
even
check
like
it out.
30 seconds. I think it's out there.
Right.
Yeah, all it shows is a couple of people running through some weeds, and then guy pulls out a bow and arrow, and he gets the 3 little dots on his head, and you hear a bit of, and that's it. It's called Prey.
Yeah, it's the Predator taking on the Cherokee Native Indians or Native Americans.
Which could have been interesting, but I don't trust him.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
I could be wrong. I'm hopefully that I eat my words on that, but the trailer didn't do nothing to sell me. Michael Laparco comes back again and says the share of Americans with favorable impression of Disney has collapsed from 77% last year to just 33% today. Is there a story out that's talking about this? I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, this is from
it's
Christopher
quoted
Rufo.
to Christopher Rufo on Twitter. So
This is a catastrophic.
That is, a drop like that, it would definitely fall pretty nicely into the catastrophic category. Yes, I mean that's a video coming right there.
Absolutely. And too bad we don't have Culture here today to talk a little bit about this, because he's been on all over this stuff. Uber B-Man says, how do we get these companies out of ESG game? Well, I think that's a good place. What do you guys think? We got a few more super chats to get to, but we will get to them shortly. But we got a story that came across my desk this morning that now we can't not talk about this, because this goes like into everything we're talking about. David Zaslov has put out a memo, it looks like. So let's get into the story, Andre.
Yeah,
if you have a chance to really look at it much, but
I have not had time to.
We'll go over it real quick.
But you go through it.
Absolutely. Here, as David Zaslov outlines Warner Brothers Discovery focus on financial opportunities in memo to staff. This is an exclusive from Variety. Just posted a little bit ago. Get rid of this video. Sorry. Which one am I on here? Okay, I'm going to leave this one like this, and I'll read from the other one. Months before the Warner Discovery deal was completed, execs at the now merged company promised to find $3 billion in synergy savings over the next 3 years. In a new memo sent out to Warner Brothers Discovery staff and obtained by Variety, Zaslov began to elaborate on those plans. In a list of near-term priorities, Zaslov mentioned that the company would focus on financial opportunities. Quote, as we build this new company, we need to be guided by data and insights to understand what is working and what's not, the memo reads. It's also important that we work more collaboratively across business so that we're able to in order to be strategic in our decision making and best serve consumers across all platforms. This will enable us to achieve a more efficient and impactful organization and stronger business overall. To accomplish that goal, WBD has hand-selected a group of staff's peers who are leading and contributing to a range of work streams underway. Chief Transformation Officer Simon Rubinson leads this team. WBD has already made major cast-cutting decisions in the months since the merger completed. Case in point, the shutdown of CNN Plus, which Variety exclusively reported on April 21st, 2 weeks post-merger. Zaslov words indicate more big changes to come. The memo also outlines plans for upfronts combining HBO Max and Discovery Plus, bolstering CNN, establishing a new WBD culture, and investing in creative engines. Here's the full memo. Oh, this is a long memo. Holy cow. So this is definitely for a video. Do you want me to read like just the points here, Andre? What should I do?
Just go through the bullet points.
Okay,
The bullet
invest.
points are pretty dense, man.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll kind of go through the main point of the bullets. He wants to invest in our creative engines. Our goal is to reach even bigger global audience, establish new Warner Brothers Discovery culture. So let's go through these each one. Okay, invest in our creative engines. Our goal is to reach an even bigger global audience with the broadcast and most compelling offering of content across all platforms. To accomplish this, we will invest boldly, but also smartly in what we put on screens, big and small, and always with the intent to drive our business forward. So that's pretty basic idea. We want to make shit that people don't think suck and they want to watch, right?
Sometimes the strategy can be formulated that simple because like with every other strategy document or declaration of intent ever, it's all pretty words. Then it's a matter of what you choose to do with it. So it's all in the execution, but so far the words are right, because you're right. This is summed up with, we're not going to waste money on things that suck.
Yeah.
And what I find reassuring is that he already shut down CNN Plus. He wasn't willing to throw more bad money or good money after bad. And if he brings that attitude to the rest of the company, there's actually a really good chance that it's not going to be just lofty words, that he actually means it.
I think that's a good place.
Yeah.
Actually, to step into the next part of it, because the next main point, and this is the one I think is a big deal. This is one I think we're going to probably focus on the most here, at least for now. And that is establish a new Warner Brothers Discovery culture. We must all work together to build a single, cohesive, collaborative culture that start operating as one team. We cannot make decisions and operate in silos and hope to be efficient given the sheer magnitude of content and platforms that we must maximize to best serve our customers. That, I think, is the most important part. Because what he's saying with that bit right there is that the culture in this place is fucked.
That is true.
And they're saying exactly what I've been saying all this time. Everybody is working against each other in their own separate little fucking bubbles.
Communities.
They're all a bunch of satellites.
Exactly. Now, what he's saying is enough of that shit. We need to all get on the same motherfucking page. Synergy is there for a reason. Let's use it. And that's one thing that Warner used to know how to do. Now, Script, you were going to say something.
Up until the 80s, and they stopped. When AOL got involved, that's when Warner started getting broken apart.
No, absolutely. They used to know how to synergize the shit out of everything. And they probably were one of the groups that fucking came up with that word. We need synergy here, even though it was probably Don Simpson, but still. No, I think that's the most important part. And I think it hits right on the main head of everything is he's saying we need to work together. We need to get this other bullshit out of the way. We need a culture. We need to cultivate a culture here where people feel like they can be creative and actually make some money and not be hampered by all this bullshit. I think that is a main direct hit at all these people who have been micromanaging this company for the last few years.
Oh yeah, I think with some of the turnover he's doing, he's going to save at least $1 billion. Just in that.
Well, they need to lose 3.
There's a lot of fat in Warner Brothers.
A lot, and it begins at the top. There's a lot of fat heads that aren't doing shit. So Andre, yeah, is that what you gather from this whole establish a new culture?
Absolutely. That is exactly what I gather from it. And what that means is that there's going to be a lot of firings. I mean, if people think that the bloodbath has happened already, no. It was just starting out. The bloodbath is still to come. Because what he's talking about here, changing a culture in that way, you know how you change a culture? That is by firing every single individual who goes against the grain, who goes against the command intention. That's how you change the culture. So that's what he's basically saying here, that get with the program or get out. You've been warned.
And the bloodbath is going to go for a minimum of 3 years. That's one thing you have to note. Like, until that $3 billion in synergies is reached, there's going to be tons of firings in between that. I predict that in the next year and a half, anyone who gets a job at Warner Brothers is going to be looking at that job as like a very dangerous ticking clock, meaning like, I'm getting hired because I'm going to be fired eventually, and a lot sooner than you would have 5 or 6 years ago.
Indeed.
Because the moment you don't deliver, he has to kick you out. He just has to. Like, he just cannot afford it. The company can't afford it. The fact that he also has this big plan of merging Discovery and HBO Max streaming services into one streaming platform is going to be a huge undertaking. And he's trying to do that without impeding on the theatrical model that Warner Brothers has.
No, and I'm sure he also sees that as for what it is, the necessity for what it is, because it's the only way they make their money back on these movies, right? I mean, they're not really making all that much back on HBO Max, and as it grows, yeah, they'll make money, but the individual films, you can't equate how much they're really making over time as opposed to what they're doing in the theaters. It's just not going to add up. And that's what we brought up with like movies like, Wonder Woman 84, and how Disney was trying to pull that shit with Black Widow and stuff like that with the $30 thing. And, they have to find a way to make that first push for that money, or there is nothing to build off of, right? That these are things to build off of, not try to establish. And I think he knows that the theatrical side of things is very important still, and I don't think he's going to shy away from that. But I think he sees it as more importantly, these theatrical features are better platforms to build off of for HBO Max shows like Peacemaker and so on. That's where I think he sees the potential in those. I don't know if Paulie or Andre has any more to say to that before we go on to the next bullet point.
Well, all I would say is that... Yeah, sorry, carry on. The only thing I would say is that, speaking of Peacemaker, if only the Marvel Disney Plus shows were half as good as Peacemaker.
What were you going to say?
That was a real proper series. That only goes to show how much they lost in losing James Gunn.
Pretty much. But the other part, too, that they mentioned is they have this out front thing in New York where they just talk about the U.S. ad incentive, which basically is another code for commercials. And it looks like, it's more and more gearing towards trying to have the ability to sell ads generate their outperformance, because Zaslov did mention, not here, but a while ago, that how awesome the Warner Brothers catalog of content and IP is, and how they have to be like, world leaders in regards to that. But the other party also has to realize is, and it's something I mentioned before, before Discovery got involved, and AT&T was kind of like the head honcho, is AT&T has to build the infrastructure to hit the customers with their streaming service, so that it can actually actually have good competition with theaters. And so that's going to be one of Zaslov's like top tier things, working with AT&T and merging the Discovery Plus and HBO Max into that streaming service, is to make sure that once that service is at its peak with regards to its interactive and mechanical aspects, that everybody in the United States, in Canada, and parts of Mexico can get that service and have it be reliable. Because right now you can't, in the United States at least. So he's got that big undertaking as well.
Paulie, did you have anything to add to this before we go to the next bullet point?
No, I'm good.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you had a chance.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the same. I'm just back everything what everyone else is saying.
All right.
And it just sounds like more tides are turning, which is great.
All right. Well, a couple of these we might be able to crack through pretty quickly. Outperform the U.S. ad sales up front. That kind of goes along with some of what you were just bringing up too, Andre. They even bring up the NYC thing. And then work toward one streaming platform. We just already talked about that. Reinforce CNN's critical role in the world. Well, this is not something that's really in our purview, but this is something we brought up before. That, we've heard from several places now, and this is pretty much the evidence we need to almost confirm it, that he plans on reviving CNN. There's no news organization in the world like CNN under Chris Leake's great leadership, our teams around the globe are doing what they do best, which is to be source of reliable news and exceptional journalism. We are especially proud of our brave crews on the ground in Ukraine, fighting to tell the truth under difficult and dangerous conditions. What they do is so incredibly important, and no one does it better. But yeah, from what we've heard, he wants to get more to basic news and journalism. Enough of this, one-sided bullshit. Yeah, and punditry shit. And then he says, focus on financial opportunities. As we build this new company, we need to be guided by data and insights to understand what's working and what's not. It's also important that we work more collaboratively across business so that we're able to be strategic in our decision-making and best serve consumers across all platforms. This will enable us to achieve more efficient and impactful organization and stronger business overall. To support our pursuit of these ambitions, we have hand-selected a broad group of your peers who are leading and contributing to a range of work streams underway. This group is being led by Simon Robinson. We read most of this already in the main part of the article. But yeah, this goes to what we were saying before. They're trying to streamline a lot of this stuff, going back to the stories I've told before, how DC and the animated side and this side and that side are all under different fucking roofs, and they all make different decisions. And my main example was for years how we had a hard time getting Batman the Animated Series on Blu-ray just because the family department just didn't seem to see a reason for it, yet the DC side was clamoring for it and telling them, please put this out, please, people want it. And then they put it out as a Warner Archive exclusive, only to be sold out, and I think it was a matter of minutes or an hour. And they're like, oh shit, maybe we underestimated how many people actually want this thing, so they actually put it out there as a regular release. And that was what I was talking about, is there's this constant there's no real communication between the groups, and they don't share and they don't work with each other like they should, and this is a big problem within the organization. And Andre, I'm sure just from a corporate side of things, how you can see how that could be a major issue.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that is how you don't want to run a company. When one hand does not know what the other is doing, that's when you can have all of this kind of like corporate dysfunction, where you miss so many opportunities because when different departments with different insights simply don't talk to each other, that's how millions or billions are left on the table, as we see with this thing here. Because just imagine those Batman animated series, just to stick with that, they came out when Blu-ray was a format in decline. Imagine how many millions upon millions would have gone straight to WB coffers. That's practically money for nothing because they already had it. Do like a quick remastering, put it on disc, have it sent to the printers and send it to the bricks and mortar stores. Do that in 2008. They would be swimming in cash.
Yeah, because they could
have afforded to buy Disney or to buy Lucasfilm actually with that probably.
Well, yeah, because the thing is it's not like this is like this isn't like TNG, Star Trek TNG, or any of those kind of shows where they had to basically reconstruct and scan all this different shit. They just had to do a straight scan of the 35 millimeter master.
All they had to do was rescan and do some purely automatic tweaks, have like a supercomputer do like a re-render and stuff like that. Just press play and let it run for 2 weeks, print it on disc, and you're good to go. And they would
they technically did. On the
that's pretty much what they did.
Got rid of a bunch of the
that's what I mean. That's what I did. That's what they did in the end, but they did it like 10 years too late.
They did, yes.
And I mean, that might have cost them. If they had released those exact same sets that they did now just the last couple of years, if they had done that a decade ago,
it's
how many hundreds of millions were left on the table because they didn't do that?
Well, let me tell you, it's no secret that a lot of my main connections come from the video side of things. So one of the individuals that I talked to about this that told me what was going on at the time with this whole thing, they were literally upset about it because this is how fucking frustrating it was working with people in your own company. Like and Gary of Nerdrotic has supported some of these stories too, because he worked in one of the production departments over there at one time, I believe. Technicolor, yeah. So he was like talking about how he said saying that nobody talks to anybody. Nobody does anything to help anybody. They're all in their own little silos, just like they said in this article here. And then he goes on even more with the financial part, because that's where it seems to be the bigger part of this. While we do not yet have all the answers, here's what I know for sure. We are a global leader in lifestyle, news, and sports. We are the largest maker of TV and motion picture content in the world. We have an unmatched portfolio of iconic brands and franchises ranging from HBO and Warner Brothers Pictures to Discovery Channel and CNN. March Madness, Stanley Cup playoffs, to DC Comics and Looney Tunes. And we stand apart in our ability to reach consumers across all platforms: linear, cable, digital, theatrical, and streaming. Most importantly, we have the best people and creative partners in the industry. Simply put, I believe we have a winning hand. And while there's a lot of uncertainty that comes with change, I am certain that through these efforts and with our continued focus and collaboration, we all emerge a stronger, more capable, and more unified organization. And I think he's right. I think Warner Brothers has, in the words of the Ghostbusters, we have the tools and we have the talent. Now they just have to get it all in order, right? Like, they need to get
They don't have the talent. I mean, if they had the talent, he wouldn't be firing so many people. They have the tools.
Here's the thing, Script. I think there's talent in there, but they're being drowned out by louder, more obnoxious voices.
Which is always usually the case, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I think he's doing. He's trying to clear away a lot of the noise. He's trying to find those individuals who are actually and he will bring in new people. Don't get me wrong. I know you're right in that respect. Mm-hmm. But they've lost a lot of love from the talent, and this is what I mean by that. Like Nolan, for instance. He is somebody that Warner has, ushered into this world, into his career throughout the whole thing. And the big move to put Tenet on HBO Max really hurt their relationship. So he's got to repair a lot of relationships just with some of those kind of people. You're right there too, in a respect that they don't have a lot of those talent on hand. We don't know where Nolan's sitting right now. He went off to, I think it was Columbia, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember where he went. If it wasn't Columbia, where was it? I can't remember.
He's being courted by Universal. And
Universal, yeah. And he was one of the other places. So they're losing a lot of what their main talent would be. And this was a company that used to be known for hanging on to people. Like, for instance, Clint Eastwood has made almost every movie he's made in the last 40 years has been a Warner Brothers picture. If not more than 40 years. Because the last time I remember making anything else was a Universal movie, and that was back in the 60s or 70s or whatever. So, yeah. I mean, they have talent that they'd like to keep around. Danny Elfman was another one that they made most of his pictures for. So they are known for that. Plus, they do have all this stuff. They have all these franchises, arguably more than Disney in some respects. I mean, I don't know. Andre has anything to say to that part, but
Disney was more.
I don't have anything to add. That sums it up.
Yeah, like Warner Brothers had audiences of all ages. Disney was focused on the children, so they were by default a smaller studio in comparison. But no, Warner's has a great catalog. Zaslov is going to be hiring and firing a lot of people over the next few years to get it to exactly what it should be. So we're going to see some really big peaks and really big valleys out of this studio for a while before they actually figure out the new formula that's going to make them successful and a good competitor again.
Yeah, what everyone said.
Yeah. It's like we lost Andre here or something.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm here.
You guys went silent.
All right. So with that, let's move on to the rest of these super chats and see what you guys are saying in the chat. Some of these are still from earlier before, and then I think you got some things to say about this Warner memo. And I'm sure we'll have a video and some other things about that sooner than later. Gwildor's Life Matters says, if Feige passed on duties to VA, in other words, of Bob's from Office Depot, what do you do? That's the thing. If Victoria takes over after Feige kind of steps down or steps to the side or whatever, we're all fucked.
Well, here's the thing that he's actually just stepped up. And so he needs someone to kind of like replace much of the function that he used to do, because he manages so many more properties now.
Well, plus he's working on that Star Wars deal too.
That too.
Oh, that's going to be a bomb.
Probably. So yeah, his resources are stretched to thin. So right now, yeah, for all intents and purposes, it's Alonso running the show. Actually, he has to run it by Feige, So he can still micromanage her if he wants to, but she's the successor right now, and that of course does not bode very well for the future of Marvel for as long as she keeps on doing what she has done so far.
I agree. Paulus Plain says, Andre, happy Constitution Day Part 2. Happy school children marching to hot dogs, ice cream, and soda pop, and physical activities. With love from me to you all, and with love from Norway. So that's
That's
what
wonderful.
part of
Yeah.
Google Schlagen is?
Yeah, it's part of the Constitution Day tomorrow. All of that stuff is done on the Constitution Day.
So that all sounds fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Mega Wing Zero says, do you think they will finish the Conan omnibuses releases? The completion is to me and need to complete. Well,
the completionist and him needs to complete it.
I understand that completely. Well, Andre, if they're as long as they own the rights to the original, they could. It depends on what the reprint rights are. Right?
Exactly. Here's the thing, and I don't know anything specific here, but according to these rumors from Bleeding Cool, that was the first to break this. Apparently, the way that I understood that report is that Marvel will retain the reprint rights of their own material. So, in principle, you should still be able to get your complete omnibuses. Now, if they decide that it's not worth it or something, I would like to just let you know that the complete collections are actually already available. Dark Horse Comics, when they had the license, then they also had the reprint rights for Marvel's old comics. So they actually reprinted the complete run of Marvel's regular Conan comics plus the Savage Sword. They reprinted all of that. What they didn't reprint, this is what I hope that Marvel will reprint, is the stuff that Dark Horse didn't reprint. Now, the miniseries and the various one-shots and specials, because those are the ones that you could do with like a digital upgrade. And as for the complete series, you don't. Might be fun if you're a completionist, but in terms of like quality, some of those stories you're honestly better off without, because all the stories that Roy Thomas wrote, whether he wrote them in the original regular series or Savage Sword or the later miniseries, if you line them up in the right order, they all tell a story. It's just like published completely out of order. But some of those comics from other writers, they kind of like mess that up a little bit. So you don't really need them all. But if you want them, I hope that they will finish.
That's kind of what I was thinking. In principle, I think you can still get them. It all depends on if they want to go through it. And if they've sold enough, that's another thing too, possibly.
That's another thing. I would not put money on Marvel releasing the entirety of the run, because they know that the demand is there for like the first years when it was at the absolute best. But then after Roy Thomas left the title and you had lesser writers, with the exception of Chuck Dixon, because everything that Chuck Dixon wrote is amazing. So if you want like a rule of thumb, if it's written by Roy Thomas, you want it. If it's written by Chuck Dixon, you want it. And if it's written by Doug Mensch, you want that too. Beyond that, you're better off without. It's just a couple of titles by Michael Fleischer, which Roy Thomas and Doug Mensch would later build upon, that you'd need for continuity purposes. But beyond that, if it's not written by Roy Thomas, Doug Mensch, and Chuck Dixon, you're better off not reading it.
Yeah, we got a couple of super chats here I must have missed earlier. Sorry about that. Primer sent in $2 and said, MCU Human Torch will be a flamer. Oh, yeah, that was when we were talking about don't expect necessarily for Krasinski to show up in the new Fantastic Four. And on that note, must be why I missed them. They're in the same kind of area. Louis Berry, sorry about that, says John Krasinski is fantastic, is Mr. Fantastic. Emily Blunt is Invisible Woman. Taron Egerton is the Human Torch, and Dwayne Johnson is the Thing. Michael Fassbender as Doom. Well, excuse me. Michael Fassbender might already be playing Magneto, so I don't know if they'll necessarily use him as Doom, but that's not a horrible choice.
That's a pretty decent choice,
You
actually.
really just need a voice actor for Doom. I mean,
Yeah, really, that's what it is. What's sad is if Mad Mikkelsen wasn't a fucking
Yeah, and he
stabbing already
already-
in one of the Marvel movies, yeah.
Yeah, in Doctor Strange, no less. He would have been fantastic.
He'd have been fantastic in
Yeah.
Fantastic Four. Dwayne Johnson is the Thing, maybe. But
again, that's another character that's a voice. It's going to be an
Yeah.
actor in a motion capture suit and a CG thing.
I mean, I think Dwayne Johnson's too pretty. Well, then again, that could work for the character. I mean, he's too big in real life.
I can't picture Dwayne Johnson talking about Yancey Street and his Aunt Petunia. I just can't.
There's just a lot of things. Yeah, I just don't. He doesn't seem to fit that role, unfortunately. But yeah, I can see that. The other one, then Emily Blunt as Invisible Woman, John Krasinski. Well, that's most fans want, but
which is kind of a boring choice because they're already married. And also, can we get a Sue Storm that's like a good 10 to 15 years younger than Reed Richards for once, please? Like,
that's problematic.
That's
script.
I don't care. That's how it is. That's the dynamic of the relationship. Is that he's such a genius. He only started dating in his 30s. like he spent all that time being a. It's being a super scientist in sense.
This is one I can really get behind, Jeff C.
Christoph Waltz as Dr. Doom.
Yes.
Very good.
Oh, Christoph Waltz can do anything. I don't give a fuck.
You know what's kind of nuts is over the weekend, I've been hearing some of my writer friends talk about like if Hilary Duff could really act, she could probably be a great Invisible Woman. Because they said like she's got the photo shoot of that body stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's probably the Visible Woman's like body. It's like, well, it's definitely more curvaceous than Emily Blunt and her toothpick stuff going on, even though she is a very talented actress and quite beautiful to look at. It's like, the irony of the Invisible Woman is that, you can't see her, but if you could, you'd be very awestruck.
No, but she looked great in that photo shoot.
Yeah.
Didn't she get some? Didn't she get some slack for that or something?
Yeah, there was some people going after her about. She's not fat enough, evidently. Ignore it. But yeah, hopefully Mega Wing Zero, you get the complete omnibuses. So then we hopefully we're up to speed, and I didn't miss any more here, but I'm sure Six will let me know if I did, and I appreciate that, and thank you so much, Six. Paulus Plain says, Andre, we got this one as well, right? No, this is a different one.
Part 3.
Yeah, this is part 3.
Part 3. Andre, happy Constitution Day, Part 3. Please explain. I think he means please explain. 1814. With love from Norway.
No way.
No way.
It's not Norway.
All right.
No way.
1814. What happened in 1814 was that actually we have to go back to the 14th century because what happened then was that all of the kings in Norway on the male side, they all died. And then Denmark took the opportunity of that to conquer Norway. So Norway, once a country of conquerors, became the conquered. And then for the next 400 years, up until 1814, Norway was the subservient party in a union with Denmark. But then the Napoleon Wars happened, and Denmark threw their chips in with the wrong side. And so when Napoleon lost, then Denmark, they had kind of a loss in prestige as well. Sweden, they were on the winning side. So then, as a reward for that, Norway was simply handed as a union partner from Norway to Sweden. So then suddenly we were no longer subservient to the Danes, instead subservient to the Swedes. But we did get a larger level of independence there, to the point that we also got our own constitution. And on 17th of May, 1814, is when then the Norwegian constitution was signed. And then less than 100 years later, in a formality, Norway, now hungry for complete independence, also were able to end the union with Sweden in 1905. So that's a little history lesson of today.
And with that,
the more you know. How's it trading? I was waiting, just waiting for him to finish so I could hit that.
Yeah.
How's the trading?
That was good.
Says
Can
with
clip that
$5.
one for Norway history there on
Yeah.
Midnight's Edge.
History moments with Andre.
Mhm.
Hail Midnight's Edge. Have you seen Sidetrek? No, I haven't. 9K subs, and he has several sources inside MGM. Maybe you guys could invite him on for if you find his content worthwhile. I think somebody has pointed us in his direction before. But
Okay.
yeah, we'll definitely check him out.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Check him out.
All right. And then Mega Wing Zero has another $2 super chat here. It says, "Go Zaslov, more blood for the blood god. Go." Well, that's what it's going to take to get this company under fucking control. I'll tell you that
Just
right
wait
now.
and see, man. A lot of people are in support of Chapek, myself included, and he's not doing so well. So there's no guarantees, but wait and see and hope for the best.
See, but Chapek, on the other hand, he came out, talked a strong game, but it's getting harder and harder to believe the 4D chess right now. But we'll see. We'll see.
Same thing can happen with Zaslov. No
Oh,
one
it
is
could.
immune. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the difference: is Zaslov, on the other hand, he's already got a track record compared to Iger. Iger was, or not Iger, Chapek. I mean, to where
We're
Chapek
both called Bob, so
yeah, that's right. I always fuck him up. So to where Chapek coming up from a little bit different field. I mean, this is theatrical is probably the newest thing that Zaslav's dealing with, as opposed to the rest of this stuff is kind
Well,
of
no,
old hat to him.
scripted. Anything scripted is new. That is a completely different world than reality-based TV.
Well, he's done more than reality-based TV though. Script.
Well, he's done home and lifestyle television.
Discovery was under both regimes of it, so like he was the one.
It's not the same business. I've had enough people confirm that with me. He's got a great shot to make it a fantastic way, but he still has a lot to learn.
Oh, I'm not saying he probably doesn't, but I think he's in a better position right now than Chapek ever was. Chapek was. Zaslov had some padding with Kalar, right? He had somebody in there who already kind of trimmed out some of the deeper rooted problems, to where I think he's going to have a little less. You could be right, but I think he's going to have a little less struggle than with Chapek. Chapek just hit a fucking brick wall, and I don't think he saw it coming like we did, because we all could have told him flat out, "Don't fucking buckle to these guys. That's going to be the end of your career," and it's kind of what's happening. So we'll see. But it'll be an interesting road. It's kind of cool how we have the two comparisons to go by, though. Breaking news: Amber Heard confirmed that her role in Aquaman 2 was highly reduced. All right, so that's what she said.
Yeah, apparently we have screening reports now from CinemaCon or something with actual attendees saying it's now 10 minutes roll.
Breaking news: she broke wind after.
If that's the case, then get her the fuck out. This makes no fucking sense at all. I'm more apt to believe they cut it down to 10 minutes. Dr. Coffin Nail says, didn't they edit out some of the nudity from Savage Sword, Andre?
If they did that in the Marvel omnibuses, I honestly don't know. I still have my my Dark Horse one, so nothing is edited there. But I wouldn't be too shocked if Marvel did edit out some of the nudity from the most recent reprints. I can't say for certain that they didn't. I would be more surprised if they didn't.
Yeah, and Bored Movie Guy says, shame they didn't do an ultimate 4K release of Conan for the 40th anniversary of the film. I agree. But we've heard rumors that there is Conan
the year isn't over yet.
Yeah, that the Arrow might have the rights to those. Whether or not they're going to come out in the UK and US together or alone is up for grabs yet too. But we recently had Red Sonja announced, even though I know there's no production company connection between the two. I don't feel like it's a fucking coincidence that we're getting Red Sonja all of a sudden on 4K as well. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Andre, or if you know anything I don't know yet.
I don't know anything that you don't know, so we just have to wait. But for those that saying it's a shame that they didn't, it's
year's
May.
Not older yet.
It's May.
Yeah, the year's not over yet. We did report on the rumor we heard that it was coming, and I believe Arrow was the one we heard, and it would make sense because they've done a lot of the Dino De Laurentiis Universal movies. Because from what I've been hearing, the bigger problem isn't so much Universal and Dino; it's Fox, aka Disney. And Andre can explain that part.
Oh, absolutely, because Fox are the ones that have the international distribution rights. And guess who acquired Fox?
Disney.
So, yeah.
And then I think
Guess
we
who
have one
owns
more.
Blood In, Blood Out?
Disney. Actually, wait now. What was that released under? Was that Miramax?
No, Touchtone, dude.
Oh shit, yeah, that's Disney. If it was Miramax, there's a chance Paramount might have it now, but never mind. I couldn't remember. That's the thing with the Hollywood Touchstone Miramax ones. I got to sit there and remember which banner was before them because they held on to the Touchstone ones and they held on to some of the Hollywood ones. Otherwise, the Miramax is all gone. They don't own Pulp Fiction or any of that anymore.
Who owns Pulp Fiction now?
Paramount. Paramount. That's why we're getting 20 Scream movies because that's the only fucking franchise they got they can do anything with out of that.
That's funny. Hey, they made money, no?
No, it did. I can't take that away from. I guess there was a member chat from Darth Plato. I'm not.
Darth Plato.
There it is. Okay, found it. Okay, Andre, one historian to another. Hail. There you go, sir.
Hail.
Thank you, Darth Plato, for being a member as well. We appreciate that. You guys truly do keep the right stuff. So is Red Sonja Disney Princess now? No, because Red Sonja is under a different.
Yes, that is correct.
I think that's
Red
Warner
Sonja,
and I don't know about the foreign distribution, but yeah.
Red Sonja is the character is owned by Red Sonja LLC.
Yeah,
and the movie rights are with Millennium, and the rights for I don't remember the original movie, but what
the original one's under Warner
4K.
and some other companies.
Yeah. But we are getting the 4K Blu-ray for Studio Canal, and I'm looking forward to it because I kind of like that movie. It's not as bad as its rap is given. You just have to understand how to appreciate it, what to look for, and just do like a little mental switch and realize that the things which many people say are the worst part of the movie, in reality, is the best part and the heart of the movie.
Well, hang on to a lot of those thoughts, Andre, because I'm going to try and bribe you to show up to 4K for you this week so we can talk some Red Sonja since we got that trailer and everything. So
we should do a Red Sonja watch party when we do get that disc.
Yeah, no shit. So yeah, looking forward to that. And with that, I think we're going to wrap things up.
Before you do, let me know if I can put it.
Absolutely. Go ahead and plug whatever you got.
Birthday today, isn't there?
Yeah, well, first of all, make sure you check out Midnight's Edge Espanol tomorrow night. Any new subscribers to Midnight's Edge, our sister channel, Espanol, right there. That's my icon. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific. Also, too, gentlemen, Danny Trejo, the living legend, just turned 78 today.
Happy birthday, Danny Trejo.
And we have a video up.
78? Wow.
78.
He looks good for his age.
He does.
The interview we did on Midnight's Edge last year, the full one is always up on on Midnight's Edge video list.
Yeah.
That is
the Star Interviews playlist.
I just listened to it this morning. It's an incredible full interview. And then I took about 10 minutes and I did a kind of inspiration stuff that he's saying, and I put that up. But happy birthday, Danny Trejo. And one last thing. Anyone who missed Triple R, it's coming back to theaters in the U.S. for one night across the states, and they've gotten more theater houses. So I'm going to put the link in the chat where you can just, they have that thing where you can put your zip and it shows the nearest theaters. I'm taking my mom. It's an incredible action film. So
there you go.
Maybe there'll be one close to you, Tom.
Maybe. Jeff wants to know when we'll have Trejo back. Well, I'm sure we'll try again in the near future, but there's a lot of other things we're working on too. So stay tuned for that, kids. I know Paulie's been hard at work at a few things that I think are really going to.
Oh, no, part 4.
Now we've got from Paulus Plain, Andre, Happy Constitution Day, part 4. The Norwegian Constitution Day 1814 is inspired from the French Revolution, 5th May 1789, and Declaration of Independence of the United States. On July 4th, 1776.
That is correct.
From
that is correct.
In
so, yeah, you can say that the Norwegian Constitution Day, 17th of May, is a remake of 4th of July. And like all Norwegian remakes of American stuff, it's pretty decent. Just like our remake of Kill Bill and our remake of Fast and the Furious.
Mm-hmm. Ask William Shatner for one. I guess he doesn't do podcast interviews, but I think I've seen him do a couple now, so maybe he's changed his mind. But
he only does them for people he knows intimately well.
Exactly. Yeah, he's pretty. I mean, yeah, the chances of us pulling that off would be pretty slim. But
yeah,
that's all right. We got our own bill here.
He won't do Skype stuff like this. He'd prefer to be in an actual studio space and do them.
No, I don't do this. Well, I do it for you guys because I love you. But
we did get Nicholas Meyer. I mean, I'm pretty stunned. We got him.
Oh.
We even got him talking some the day after, which is like more relevant now, given what's going on in Eastern Europe.
By the way, I gotta say, Priceline.com.
Just bust a move.
I just gotta say that. And with that, Andre.
And with that.
What does God need with a starship?
Yeah, that too. That too.
And why are koalas in the rain?
Happy birthday, Trejo.
Yo. Machete, don't text.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.